All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are back. What's wrong with my mouse here? I am back in DC for a week. So you may see me in a different environment here. Let's see here. How are we doing? I'm just making sure. Welcome, welcome. Alrighty. I'm sorry that there's no opening theme. I'm on a different computer. I didn't have that theme on there. I know this is very disturbing for many of you. Jesus. Where are we today? Before we get into things, Agent Syria. I don't think the U.S. was really. We'll talk about Syria later, but man, it's. I don't think it's necessarily something the U.S. is really happy about. But okay, let's get into that. But for the Preston, I haven't seen you in years. You look different now. Well, we all grow older, man. You know. The where's my Daemon Targaryen, the Rogue Prince? I told you on my other computer, I don't necessarily have it. I mean, I can try to get you a Rogue Prince here. Let's see here, just to try to make you guys feel better. Let's see, Rogue. No, let's see. I think it's Electric Rodeo. Electric Rodeo. Okay. Is this it? No, that's not it. This is it. Long version's got a little different stuff to it. There, if you're on iMovie or Final Cut, you'll find 3 versions of Electric Rodeo. All right, so topic at hand before we get to super chats and such. Let's talk about the map of Westeros and hidden armies. So let's see. Can I? There we go. Let's try this. And this is way too big. This is way too big, so let's shrink this bad boy. Where did you go? Where'd you go? Let's try that again. This is way too big, so let's shrink this bad boy up. All right, let's talk about missing armies here in Westeros, and ones you may have forgotten, ones that you may have not forgotten about. All right, so starting down on the bottom here, we got some missing pirates and such hanging out in the stepstones that we sometimes hear about. We've got perhaps Salador Sands, extra ships that he deserted Stannis with. We don't know if those were necessarily hired to bring over to Old Town. But over here, we've got those forces chilling. We've got in Dorne, we don't really hear about any forces other than the Dornish forces that are in the Prince's Pass, which is over here, and the Boneway. There's disputes on how big those forces are. I think Dorne claims it's 30,000 spears, but it's probably less than that. Maybe 10,000. Maybe each host is 10,000 each. You go a little further over, you got Old Town. The High Towers are the second biggest house, second most powerful house in the Reach, and they didn't give their armies to anybody. So they should be pretty fresh. So you're talking huge unused high tower forces, maybe 10,000 high tower soldiers there that no one ever talks about. Should we put like, should I bother like putting little, some little reminders here? Let's put some, let's get some text overlays here. Some forgotten kind of stuff here. All right, so we have all these we've got these pirates, and we got two types of pirates. So really, we got Salvador Sands pirates, and we've got rainwater pirates. So we'll say 2 pirates. And then let me do a copy and paste. Let me do a copy and paste. No, you bastards. Okay, so I got a new overlay every fucking time. All right, then we got over here, we got our 2 Dornish forces. Okay. That's going to be right here. And then we've got new text overlay, and then we got over here, let's talk about Hightower. So we got Hightower forces kind of hanging here. And these are huge. These are huge. People are not really thinking about that. Now, we've also got not just that, because we hear about this built Hightower fleet. And so, which, you know, if you've read the Harrower chapter, we know that they're going to be part of that battle. So, Hightower fleet. And then we got you of course got the red wine fleet over here. And we know we've got Euron's fleet, which is kind of in two pieces. I don't know if it's worth breaking it up, but you've got his fleet that we see at the beginning we got his small fleet at the end of the Forsaken chapter, and then his missing 10,000 ships. We don't know what that's all where that's all. Now, in the Reach, we also hear about Garland Tyrell's forces. He talks about like raising 20,000 men or something to try to retake the Dornish on the Shield Islands. I imagine that the Euron's stuff over here that he's just kind of abandoned, but he might be over there. And then we've got, what else? We've got, of course, the Golden Company. Hanging out over here in Cape Wrath. And they're all over the fucking place. So, and then we've got Mace. Say Mace and Ronnet. They're somewhere. Maybe gonna come down. Now, one of the things we're also forgetting about is in we've got a forgotten which of the Vale clans is in the Kingswood, because we forgot about the let's do, I think in the Kingswood, the Stone Crows remain in the Kingswood. Okay, so we got Stone Crows are also hanging out here, but though, you know, not too many of them. So there's a question of whether or not the Stormlands have anybody else kind of chilling in here, and we don't really hear about the Stormlands having that many forces, which is kind of weird considering like how many forces we've pulled out of nowhere for the North or the Riverlands, and how the Stormlands are just like, okay, I guess, we guess we don't have any forces, because the Golden Company comes in and just totally takes over, and everybody's like, okay, I guess they didn't have any. All right. Then we got Tarly. Tarly's got his own forces as well. And they've come to King's Landing. And then in the Riverlands, you could maybe make an argument that there's still some Karstarks or something around, but it's hard to say. You know, if Tarly killed them all, and that was the point. So I'm going to say broken men Karstarks chilling out in the Riverlands. And then we've got, I would say, we still got a bunch of Freys, several different types of Freys in the Riverlands. That might be a problem. And of course, we've got what we call the two brotherhoods. The two brotherhoods without banners. The two brotherhoods without banners, yes. We'll put we know that one brotherhood is run by Catelyn, but we don't know who's running the second brotherhood, if Beric is still alive or if somebody else like Greenbeard has taken over. But we know that there are two brotherhoods without banners. Okay. You could argue that there is we call it the, let's see, the melting away Lannisters. I guess there's still some melting away Lannisters maybe around here. And then they aren't very many, but we could argue that there's the Brave Companions are still kind of around. We don't know how many groups they're in. One was supposed to go to Old Town, Zolo the Fat, and Urwick the Faithful's kind of groups, right? And then we've got in the Vale, we've got the Vale Knights and all of that. But we also have the other. Oops. Let's see. No, I don't want to do that. We've got, we'll say the other clans, the other mountain clans are kind of around here. Where did I put? There we go. Okay. And then, yeah. So I could be more specific here with two pirates. We'll say San and Waters. Okay. Okay, so how are we doing here? The clans, the painted dogs. Yeah. Let's see. Anybody like in the South here? Wait, are you saying there's a possible connection between Griff and John Con? Yes, that's funny. Rob's missing armies. Could there be more Northerners like who survived the Red Wedding? Yes. I think they might go into the broken men Karstarks category. Yeah. But you include the gold cloaks. Yeah, you're right that the gold cloaks probably are a significant factor. There were certainly a significant factor in the for a Clash of Kings. The gold cloaks are funny because Mace Tyrell added a bunch of Tyrells to the gold cloaks. And so I don't know if, we don't know who they're. Mace Tyrell added a whole bunch, and the the guy who runs them has been changed to Humphrey Waters, and so we have no idea, zero idea on who they would be loyal to. And so it's who knows. Now, moving up, we've got. It's too bad we got. I don't want to. This is beautiful, beautiful work here. I don't want to destroy this. All right, so let's maybe I can add another overlay here, and do the. Let's do another overlay here, so I can just have the north over here. Can I get? What is this? What is this? Okay. I don't want to get this in the way. Can I shrink myself? Am I taking up too much room here? There we go. All right. I'll be a little more humble. And let's bring this guy to front. Okay. Okay. Now, when dealing with the north, oh wait, no, I gotta send this to back because now all my fucking, I've lost all of my goddamn. Okay. Let's shrink. Can I take off? Can I crop this? Can I crop? I don't want this. I don't want this shit. Bastards. Okay. I feel like I need to. If only I had this on the other side rather than here. Oh, I can send this one to back. There we go. There we go. That's. Now I'm cooking here. Now I'm cooking. Okay. So, where's a good? It's a good place here. All right. So now we got the north. Now, I will say with the north, which is what you guys are all probably mostly interested in. Let's be honest, the Crannogmen didn't fucking do shit, so there's a full fucking the Crannogs are still there. Okay, the Frog Eaters are still we've lost like two guys to Euron's forces. Okay, there's so many fucking Frog Eaters still around. Also, the Manderleys, they didn't send shit. I mean, they sent some guys with Rob, but they didn't send anybody. I didn't spell that correctly at all. Manderley. There we go. So there's plenty of Manderleys, like probably 5,000 Manderleys. Okay. Not to mention the of course, Rob's fleet. Rob's fleet, which has just been mentioned so many times that it has to return. So we got Rob's fleet. Okay. We got some other houses, but I will say that specifically, like, you know, how many flints of Widow's Watch are left and things like that. But we did hear specifically from Lady Dustin saying that she did not send any forces. So we still got some Dustins left, at least. And then over here, and they probably won't come back, but there is a Theon talks about an Umber force that he sees, and we don't know like what happened, if they're the same as the Green Boys or whatever, but that appear outside of Winterfell or whoever, or the Greybeards. Like, what's weird about the Umbers is that Theon mentions that, there's just Greybeards and Green Boys left, but he sees an Umber force in a Clash of Kings, and it never comes into the battle. So it's probably forgotten. Like, I don't think the Clash of Kings Umber force is ever I think it's forgotten about, but I'm going to put him on there anyway. Okay. Then we've got obviously Stannis' forces, where we're not really sure how much he's lying about how big they are. And, we've got, maybe he's got 5,000, but it's around the same as the people coming out to get him. Let's see. And then we've got, of course, the forces here. We've got the Freys, the Frey Manderley force coming out. And then we've got the Bolton force coming here. And I include all of the other people chilling at Winterfell in there. So we got the Stannis, Frey Manderley, Boltons, right? Rob's Fleet, Manderley, Dustin. And now, of course, they're small, but we've got to mention that we've got Cleftjaw. Cleftjaw's got some dudes. Probably doesn't have many, but, he's got a force of some sort. Okay. And then we get to the wall. And we've got... what we're going to call them, essentially the Tormund wildling force is really the one at the wall, but they're not the only ones. We've also got the Mother Mole contingent up here. And then we've got, of course, probably the biggest one that everyone keeps forgetting, the Weeper. And then at the wall, we still have, there's still some Stannis forces and wildling forces along the wall. So we might as well also put we'll talk Queensmen. Okay. All right. So, maybe some Queensmen, some Tormund, some Mother Mole, some Weeper. These guys, they're probably not. I should probably just, Now, Skagos, are they going to be anybody? I have no idea if there's, anybody, if the force is even significant. But let's say we got some Skagosi here too. And then, we do also have the Fens. We don't know if the Fens went to Carhold or not. Barely worth mentioning, but there might be some Fens at Carhold or something here. Yeah. I think I've overestimated the size of the Weeper army. I may be overestimating the size of the Weeper army, but even if my overestimation, it's still a significant number of people. So, the idea is that, and granted, Stannis is bragging, but all the wildlings come to the wall, like 100,000 of them. Now you could say, okay, well, that's women and children and non-fighters and old men and things like this. Fine. But, at some point you're talking like 20,000 fighters. And so, Tormund has 5,000 people, but again, they're not all fighters either. And Mother Mole might have about 5,000. But, you're looking at like the remainder, and then how many are killed. So let's say a good number are killed. Let's say 20,000 get killed and another 20,000 die of killed by others or the weather. And we're down to like 60,000 left. And then you minus 5 for Mother Mole and you minus 5 for Tormund. You're still talking about like 50,000 people. And of them, like, 10,000 are going to be fighters. Like that's a really significant number of people in the north, no matter how you slice it. Shouldn't I count the Florence still at Brightwater? Huh. I mean, this is like there's still Stannis forces at Storm's End and at the Chittering Castle and on Dragonstone and things like that. So I suppose you're right that I could add a few more Stannis stuff down here. We mentioned the Chittering. Chittering is kind of forgotten about, but that was another Stannis place that that's Stannis loyalists. Stannis loyalists, you know. Might be over here on Dragonstone and Chittering and I mean, we don't know the names of Chittering's castle. I think we called it Chittering when we did the fanfic, even though it's just the house name. But let's see. Brightwater Keep. I'm actually did the Tyrells already take it? Garland brings half the Tyrell strength back to the Reach to press his claim on Brightwater, which is held by Colin Florent. And then the shields happen. Yeah, I guess you're right that Garland was distracted and he never ended up taking Brightwater Keep from the Florents. However, I don't know how many, they might have enough people to hold a castle, but the Florents were pretty into Stannis and sent most of their forces with him. So we can kind of put some Florents. We'll put some Florents here. But yeah. Okay. Is that everybody? Who have we forgotten? Anybody? I think that's I think that might be everybody that we. I mean, Sparrows. We can talk about Sparrows. They kind of come out of nowhere, but it's like all of these different groups kind of need to be resolved plot wise, like at some point, like which is kind of the more the point. Like I didn't put like the size of the armies, but we kind of know that regardless of the size, all of these plot lines kind of need to be handled at some point. Like the two Brotherhood without banners and the Vale infighting, the Frey infighting, and then the Vales and the other clans and the Broken Men and the Car. I don't know. Maybe the Broken Men and the Karstarks don't need to be. Maybe that's been already dealt with. That Tarly already dealt with them. We could say that plot is done with. But Tarly, Mason Ronnet, the Stone Crows. We know that we've got to deal with these plots. Golden Company, San, Waters the Dornish, all of these. It's just a lot of different threads that all need to be kind of closed. Oh yeah, Lord Rowan there is the Rowan contingent. Yeah, you're right. I'll put the Rowan. It's probably Rowan. I mean, technically there's nothing in the text that says it's Rowan, but yeah, it's probably Rowan. And it's only because he's gone, I think. But we'll put Rowan. Rowan here. Yeah, I think we made it Rowan in the fanfic. Nemerius Wolf Army. Yeah, I guess so. Okay, if we're going outside the oh shit. Fuck. You're right. If we're going outside humans, we've got the wolves right? But then, oh fuck, we forgot about the giants and mammoths. The giants are going around the side of the wall here. So we got this giants plot too. The giants and mammoths. Yeah. Yeah, rainwaters I put down here in the stepstones. Bar's crew on the way to Starfall. I guess you're right. That if we're talking about okay, Obara. Carmine's like, you're too fucking loud. Fine. What's going on? Let's see here. I can also just push my mic away for a second. There we go. Right. Westwatch is more about the Weeper. So we kind of got that. Okay. So, all right. Yeah, surviving Riverland forces. I mean, kind of the melting Lannisters, and then the ones that are maybe part of the Brotherhood. Missing Lannister forces with Marcel. Yes. Okay. So, all right. There we go. Mapped it out. All right. So now we can move on now. Let's move on. Now I've got all these fucking things. Do I have to, is there a way to I can't even, it's these things, but I have to, unbelievable. Okay. By Bolton, by Freyman, by Cleftjaw, by Dustin, by Rob's fleet, by Manderley's, by Reed's, by Red One fleet and Euron's fleet and High Towers and Obara and the Dornish forces and Florence and the High Towers and the Brave Companions and Garland and Salor Sand and Arain Waters and the Golden Company and the Stone Crows and Mathis Rowan and the Stannis Loyalists and Mace and Red Ronnet and Gold Cloaks and Randall Tarley and the melting Lannister's forces and Brotherhood Without Banners and Freys and the other clans. Okay. Where were we? All right, let's get into it. All right, Wisdom asks, Preston, Season 5 watch. Stannis has a missing army. Half of them deserted in the night. Unless, we'll come back to this. I was on Copium. Oh, 2, PJ. I wanted there to be a better ending for the Manus. That is true. So if you in a embarrassing amount of copium, back when in season 5 when Stannis is destroyed, I was utterly convinced that they couldn't do Stannis so dirty. If you remember, Stannis is snowed in, and Ramsay's 20 Goodman comes in and like burns the camp, and like half of his forces desert, and they even name them. Like, I think he says like the Stormcrows and different sellsword companies all desert. And I was really convinced that it was a Stannis plan, that he had like convinced them all that this was going to be a desertion and they were going to come back later, and that Stannis wasn't really dead because they didn't show his death on screen. And that's like the first rule of storytelling is if you don't show the death on screen, it didn't happen, and things like that. So yeah, I definitely had some cope. I was like, no, it's got to come back. They can't do this, and I really wanted to believe, but it didn't happen. I was wrong. It really was that bad. it was too bad because they'd set it up. They set it up where you could bring these forces back and do something secret with Stannis and make it all more interesting. Then the greatest general in Westeros walking his army straight at Winterfell and having Ramsay's forces just like annihilate him in the dumbest, most suicidal action. It was just very, very odd. Very, very odd. People can look back at it and be like, oh, Preston was being dumb. And I was just like, I just couldn't believe they were being that stupid. And yeah, it was, I don't know, they were being that stupid. Because we kind of look at, A Dance with Dragons and look, theorizing on Stannis's genius has probably gone too far, but there's going to be something. There's at least going to be the holes in the ice. Like, at least that's going to happen, like that's been clearly set up, the holes in the ice. So at least there's going to be that. There has to be some trickery, but something more interesting about Stannis's attack and Stannis's, then it looks really, really bad for Stannis, and then it was really, really bad for Stannis. No, like, storytelling is it looks really bad, and then we're surprised. Something else happens. So, will we see any previous iterations of time-traveling Bran timelines in the fanfic? Would be very fun to see what alterations Bran has attempted in the past. Yeah, I think we will see some in a more abstract dream sense, like flashes of Bran seeing previous iterations. I think it's very important to see Hodor in his original timeline, him being a great knight. Somebody was mentioning that it might be really interesting to see Bran as somebody in the Night's Watch or something like that. But I think some of the other timelines are kind of important to at least hear about. I don't, obviously the only person that's going to be able to see them is Bran. So, it's the only way you can kind of like introduce it is to have Bran see flashes of stuff from previous timelines. And I guess we already have an element of this with Bran seeing the vision of the Thousand Dreamers impaled on spikes, like who are the Thousand Dreamers? I mean, you could argue that there were previous inhabitants of the cave, over many generations, but I like to think that those Thousand Dreamers are 1,000 brands from previous iterations. But yes, we're going to be seeing some of that. I have to say the Bran story, where I see the Bran story going, in the fanfic, where I see the Sam story going and where I see the Tyrion story going, I think are really, really fun. And I don't want to spoil too much on like where they're going, but it's going to be pretty awesome. And so it's just, I almost feel like it's so sad that it's like so far in the future to get back to that, because there's so many other chapters that have to be dealt with. In the short term, we're dealing with Asha, we're dealing with Cersei, we're dealing with Melisandre, we're dealing with Davos, we're dealing with Daenerys, going back to Daenerys. So like that's our short term for now. And then maybe the third Hotah chapter, maybe the second Cersei and the second Jaime, like all that's, I'd like to. I'm so looking forward to Sam. Sam's second chapter is going to be so fun. So, but got to get through some things. Do you think Euron dies and wins? No. I mean, I think George's original plan was roughly what we're seeing in the show. Like, I think originally he really did want the so in the show, there was a subversion of expectations in that different characters were completing other people's storylines. Arya completing Jon's storyline. uh, Jaime completing Asha and Theon's storyline. Um, and that kind of subversion, it's just a little too original for Dan and Dave. Like unless they were just like being sloppy and being like, well, somebody's got to kill him. Why not Jaime? But it feels like that was something that George was trying to be clever with. That the subversion of expectations is that all these plot lines that you think were going somewhere, these other characters were coming in and completing them, and there was some sort of like funness to the characters completing each other's storylines. Obviously it was executed completely wrong, and everybody was kind of puzzled by it. But I kind of suspect that this was something that George was really attempting. That we get a kind of weird, unexpected completion of storylines that no one was thinking of. Trying to think, like, because that is a lot of the fun of a Game of Thrones when the storylines start crossing, right? Well, I mean, I guess, when you think of how fun it was the first time you read a Game of Thrones and Tyrion and Kat run into each other, that's so much fun. Or in A Storm of Swords, when Stannis shows up at the wall, that's so much fun when these storylines cross. And so I think probably George was thinking, oh, it's going to be so much fun to have these other storylines cross and interfere in ways that you're not expecting. So I do think that Euron is just one of those baddies that makes it to the end. I do think that the Euron-Cersei marriage is probably going to happen. And I think it's probably going to happen because if you look at the appendices, there are all sorts of Westerman Ironborn connections that are listed in the appendices that have not been mentioned in text too much. And, we also have like the vision of the woman in fire next to Euron, that, you kind of think, oh, well, it's supposed to be Daenerys, but there's a subversion. So it's probably Cersei, right? So if you're talking about Cersei marrying Euron, which I do think is probably a really legitimate plot point, that would take, there's no way Cersei can get to the point where she's marrying Euron in the Winds of Winter. She has to resolve her trial, and then she somehow has to get out of King's Landing. Or the reverse, like Euron has to come to her in King's Landing. So he has to win his battle and then come to King's Landing and have a marriage worked out. That would take the entire book. And so there's just not enough time for Euron to die. There's not enough time for Euron to die. Unless you're going to kill Euron and Victarion's going to take that plot line, Euron has to make it to Winds. I just think the evidence of the show and just where characters are on screen and things like that, it just show that. What is Rain Waters' plans? I don't know. I mean, there's some that suggest that perhaps Rain Waters is a Stannis supporter. It's certainly where his house was supporting, and it's what people kind of think he did. Like, it's what characters think he did. It's possible that he's just waiting around to be a Stannis supporter, but he's if he's down in the Stepstones, he's a long ways from Stannis, so he has to like turn his fleet around and head north or something for something to happen. Other people suggest maybe he's going to be an Aegon supporter, but he kind of had his chance already. Like, ships were passing him by, and he didn't join them. So, it may be that he has no plans. It may be that just he decided to be a pirate, and he's got some ships, and he's in it for himself. But I don't know if he has, certainly I don't think George new. So the subversion aspect of like Orain Waters is like, oh, they suspect that he went to Stannis, but usually when somebody like speaks of what somebody's going to do, it's not that. Right? I'm trying to think. What's the last things they say about Orain Waters here? Oh, there we go. Gotta get the last quote on Orain Waters. Orain Waters. He's still. Did they mention him in Dance at all? Oh yeah, they do. Had fled to the sea. Is that it? Of Waters? Don't they say something like that? I don't know. It's hard to find the pirates and the stepstones. I thought it was something. One of Glitus's early videos is about it. But it says here, oh right. Salladhor Saan goes to the Stepstones with his remaining ships. Some of the Golden Company lands in the Stepstones. Strange ships in the Stepstones. Pycelle believes Orain intends to become a pirate in the Stepstones. He could show up anywhere. There's too many ships. There's so many fucking fleets around. So many fucking fleets. Oh, this is interesting. Are we going to get to Syria talk? We'll take this. We'll get to Syria talk in a second. Why can we simply not give the Kurds 100,000 Abrams? Oh, Syria. Did anyone? Let me check if anyone has done a super chat on Syria. Just so I can. I don't want to. Howland Reed. Just getting previews of what to talk about. Interviewing Elon. Nobody's talking about Syria. I was expecting all of you guys to want to know about Syria. Let me find a good. Al Jazeera had a pretty good because Al Jazeera had a pretty good map of Syria. Here we go. Okay. Why are you not? There we go. It's like a day of maps here today. You know, we're just doing maps. Okay. What's Orain Waters' plan? So Aegon, according to the fanfic, has the Golden Company, Holy 100, and the same and some houses in the Reach. Anyone else he has? Oh, so yes, in the fanfic, the plan for the Golden Company is that he's going to have Harrenhal and maybe some sparrows and poor fellows in the Riverlands that are going to join Bonifer Hasty. The idea being, if you Bonifer, the House Hasty, I mean, there's a couple reasons for Hasty to support Aegon. One is like support because he was in love with Rhaena, Queen Rhaena, Aerys' wife. But another, you could say, well, Hasties were Blackfyre supporters as well. The Golden Company is going to have, obviously, houses in the Stormlands because they control the Stormlands. They're going to have some houses in the Reach. And then there's the question of the Ironwoods. The Ironwoods were Blackfyre supporters. And there's the Ironwoods they're in control of the Host in the Boneway, as opposed to the Fowlers, the Host of the Prince's Pass. So there's that. Now, the plan so far in the fanfic is the Vale is sweeping down into the Riverlands. So a lot of the possible support that some houses in the Riverlands could have for Aegon is kind of irrelevant because the fray fighting is going to happen. And I think however, it's going to be also relevant because we placed the sistermen as protectors of Sweet Robin. And they were Blackfyre supporters. And so that's going to maybe come back too. So I'm trying to think of anybody else. Like, is it relevant that, I think the big relevant one, I mean, even though they're in the Reach is Red Wines and some of the houses around there. Like, there's some Blackfyre supporters, and people that could possibly marry the Red Wine twins in the region, like Alysanne Bulwer, even though she's a little girl, or whatever, Meredith Crane, people like that. But the relevance of like whether a Westerland house or an Ironborn house or a Riverlands house or a Vale house might support the Golden Company. We'll see how relevant it is later on. We'll see how the story unfolds. But there's a lot of possibilities there that have been placed there. There's a reason why we placed the Sunderlands in where we did. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun coming in. And let's see. The Pirates of Penzance. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. In A Feast for Crows, Cersei wanted a Dornish Master of Arms. Will Nym try to claim that role? Tyler, man, you're reading my mind. Okay. You're reading my mind. Okay. I'm going to tell you that in my planning of the Cersei chapter, which is Lady Nym is bringing a Master of Arms, a Dornish Master of Arms, and she is also bringing a replacement for Mark Mullendor's monkey. So both of these things are little Feast for Crows plots that like were kind of forgotten about, that George probably never cared about resolving. But yes, in A Feast for Crows, Cersei sends to Dorne for a new Master at Arms. And also in A Feast for Crows, we hear about Marjorie trying to find a replacement for Mark Mullendor's monkey that died at the Blackwater. And so even though Marjorie can't do it because she hates the Dornish, but she could ask Willis, and then Willis could ask the Dornish. So the idea is that Lady Nym will be coming with, a new Master at Arms and a replacement for Mark Mullendor's monkey. But yes, Tyler, you are reading my mind on that. See, when you get me on the, I've thought way too much about the Dornish story and then the Cersei story, but yes. But yes, that's all off topic. But if you watch an anime adaptation of Berserk, please do the 1997 for the music alone. The Guts theme is iconic. I've watched a little bit of it. People don't like it because it's like they think the animation isn't that good on the first one. The animation is obviously better on the second one, but I don't know if I like any of the anime adaptations. I think they missed the fucking point so far of what I've seen of Berserk. Man, I have gone nowhere. What do you think are some of the most overpowered combos of nationalities for someone with a dual citizenship in terms of rights and opportunities in life? I mean, generally speaking, you're in a really good position if you have an American citizenship with an EU citizenship. I mean, you can work in both countries, and travel freely back and forth. The biggest barrier at that point is like language, So I know a lot of Europeans that want to work in America because they want the higher salaries in certain fields. And then I know, Americans that want to work in Europe because it's a more pleasant place to live. So, you get these two things going back and forth. When you start talking about like the different nationalities, some people like certain nationalities because they don't need visas or they have access. Like as an American, for example, it's really hard for me to travel to Iran, but if you're Canadian or New Zealander or something, it's, easier. So some people think about passports like that and they like those opportunities. But generally speaking, if you have an American and EU country dual citizenship, you fucking have great economic opportunities on where you want to work. And then most of the other countries in the world, when it comes to like job opportunities, there are ways in if you're an American or a European that allow you to do something. Like if you want to live in Indonesia, they have digital nomad thing and for Indonesia. If you want to just live in the Philippines or Dominican Republic as an American, you can. There are opportunities that it's very easy to do visas and stuff like that. And so it's I mean, when you're talking purely economic opportunity, that's it. Just, you can do whatever you want at that point, pretty much for all your employment and wealth opportunities. A U.S. citizenship and an EU citizenship, that would be pretty banger. We'll happily pay for it. Howland read 8 shit video. That would be a pretty fun one. I can probably. I'll tell you what. I'll at least do it for a stream topic coming up. I think it's a pretty good one. Okay. When is the next Berserk pod? Thoughts on Buddhism? I will. I think this week. I mean, we'll see if this week I can get Carmine and Trey to do something. But yeah, probably pretty soon. I mean, it's pretty fun. I mean, I think we're pretty motivated right now to do some more on it. And so I'll try to get that. But I think sometime this week we might record if I can. In the middle, a lot of just coordination of the other bros. Thoughts on Buddhism? Yeah, I mean, I think like a lot of Americans, I kind of have some sympathy for some of the ideals of Buddhism, about just I have to say that like after the death of my father, I spent a lot of time watching Alan Watts videos, and they made me really feel a lot better about certain things. And I think a lot of the comfort of Buddhism comes from the fact that it points out and recognizes how the world doesn't really make sense, and how we've been perceiving the world around us doesn't really make sense. And so once you sort of identify that all of these things that you've been frightened and scared about are illogical and don't make sense, then Buddhism has a real appeal. When you and so but on the other hand, like Buddhism as an organized religion is has a lot of the same corruption elements of lots of organized religion. Um, they try to get people's money and all of that too. I've definitely spent some time with some people that were in like Buddhist temples and dealt with all of the politics and shenanigans and corruption that it has. So like like any organized religion, it has its problems, but yeah. But I think there's some interest. I think there's a lot of appeal to Buddhism, but it's funny because I once made a joke about. I once said to a friend once a long time ago, like, yeah, maybe I'm a Buddhist, and he's like, no. He's like, Preston, I think you probably enjoy like eating dinners and sex and masturbation and all these other things that like you're supposed to not enjoy. You're supposed to be pulling your way away from everything, like as a Buddhist, like, and you're like, oh, okay, that's kind of true. Like I understand, we all kind of agree about the cycle of unhappiness of consumption, but at the same time, like pulling away to having nothing is a little too much for a lot of people. What's the narrative purpose of Pate's Pate's foot fetish? I think it's just color. It's just color. I don't think George really put that much thought into it. Let me think about. Is it Rosie's feet? Foot. I'm trying to think. Wait, does he have a foot fetish? Oh yeah, okay. Sometimes he went barefoot as he served to feel the grass beneath her feet. He loved that too. He loved the clean, fresh feel of it. One night she let him rub her feet and play with them. Yeah, I don't think there's much to it. It's just a random color to try to make it feel all real and fleshed out. I mean, he's dead, so it doesn't kind of matter anymore. I don't even know if there's much point to Pate's anything. Pate, like, will Rosie come back? Is that important? Oh yeah, the Red Wine Fleet went to Old Town after the siege of Dragonstone, but they what about the 2,000 some soldiers also on the siege? Are they attached to the fleet, or that's another fucking army? Yeah, it's true. I do have to say that having rethought about Dragonstone, so there was a time where the Dragonstone story that Arain Waters comes in and he tells the story of the taking of Dragonstone that is so weird and has so many problems with it that you're kind of convinced that you get, a lot of fans, including me, got convinced that like it's a whole bunch of bullshit. And that there's nothing wrong with Loras and things like that. Um, and there's a lot of other weird things. There's a moment in which one of the septas makes a comment about Loras, and then the other septas tell her to shut up. And you're like, where did that come from? You know, like, what was she talking about? Let's get Cersei. Says something. Just something like one of the septas says something, and one of the and she gets kicked, and she's like, "You talk too much," and you're like, what's going on? Something about the queen. Is it the queen's brother? She says. Here we go. I am the queen. She swallowed, smiled, and said, "That is good to know. Tommen loves her so. I never believed those terrible things were being said that were being said of her. Had Marjorie Tyrell somehow wriggled free of the accusation of fornication, adultery, and high treason? Was there a trial? Soon, said Septa Scalera. But her brother, hush, Septa Anella, turned to glare back over her shoulders at Scalera. You chatter too much. And you're like, what are we talking? Like, what does Loras have to do with Marjorie's trial? Because when we meet Mace Tyrell later, he doesn't mention anything about that sort of stuff. He's saying like Marjorie's trial is going to happen, soon. So we don't know what's going on with Loras. So, did they actually take Dragonstone? Then what was the point of having the bastard of where Philip Foot took Night Song? Like, what's the point of having the bastard of Night Song be there? And what was the point of Philip Foot? Like, there's this weirdness of, oh God, I feel like I've got to bring this back up on a map here. So, very randomly, this one hero of the Blackwater named Philip Foot is given Night Song. Night Song is in the Prince's Pass. It's the first keep, facing Fowler and the Dornish forces there. Completely random. This one dude, Philip Foot. They're like, yeah, have fucking Night Song out of fucking nowhere. Like, all these other people get fucking nothing. Okay, I remember the Red Wines get nothing. The Red Wines take nothing. Everybody's getting these minor tracts of land. They're promising different people, the potential to have keeps here and there. But Philip fucking Foot gets Night Song. And then Stannis leaves the bastard of Night Song in charge of Dragonstone. So you're like, is that bastard of Night Song going to claim Night Song? Is he gonna... Roland Storm is, I think, his name. Like, is this relevant? Like, why is this random dude given Night Song, and why is this other random dude left in charge of Dragonstone? Because if Loras just fucking takes the castle, what was the point of any of that? Maybe there's none. Maybe I'm reading into it, and then it's nothing. But I feel like, something suspicious is going on, but I can't figure it out. I don't know if George had figured it out. If Sam put a glass candle in his butt, would he die? Yeah, he'd bleed to death. Those things are razor sharp. He would bleed to death if you put a fucking glass candle in his butt. Can the Faceless Men do... Jesus, Martin. He's just... of course they can. Would you consider interviewing Elio? I suppose I would have to think about what I would ask him about. Because I don't know if I have to think. I mean, I have to think long and hard about what I'd ask him about. Because I don't know if there's any particular piece of information that I would pointedly ask him that he might know. I might ask him about some of his experiences, dealing with the shows and what they've kind of what his role was and what he's seen. I'd love to know like a little more on the exact process of how the World of Ice and Fire came and his relationship and with George and all of that. I mean, there's little things I'm going to ask him here and there. But I don't know. It's just one of those things of I've never thought of like reaching out and being like, hey, let's chat. Like, it's never been something that's been too like pressing for me, but if I were to interview him, I think I'd be able to come up with some interesting things to talk to him about. But it's yeah, I mean, I could consider it. I'd have to think about what I'd really talk to him about. What was the point of marrying Sansa to Willis? The point was that Sansa was seen as heir to Winterfell after her brothers would be disinherited, and she would be seen as a way to convince the small folk that this was a legitimate transfer of power. So marrying surviving daughters seems to be a thing that's done to see legitimate seizing of castles, to try to legitimize it. So for instance, we see this with Derry. They take Gatehouse Amy is a Derry. I mean, her last name is Frey, but her mother was a Derry. And so the idea is that whoever marries, they're giving the castle to Lancel, but the small folk would be like, oh, it's okay because their child is still a Derry, really. That it's seen as a legitimate transfer of power. So it's the same with like Sansa. They would see it as a legitimate transfer of power, even though it's a seizure. I mean, it's the same. This is what they're doing with fake Arya, right? That it's one thing just to eliminate a house and then take it, but you kind of soften it by being like, oh yeah, no, I've got this wife who's of the old house, so it's okay. It's okay, It's just a bone people throw, So that was the point with Sansa and Willis, is they were trying to marry Sansa to Willis so that they could try to take Winterfell and have Willis take Winterfell. Now, it's a little bit weird because Willis was already supposed to inherit Highgarden. So why wouldn't they try to, and I guess because it was Garland was already married and that was a problem. So I guess, I don't know if the plan was to have Willis go and take Winterfell and Garland to take Highgarden, but that was the idea, is that they were trying to take Winterfell. All right. Israel just invaded Syria too. Nah, I mean they invaded Syria 50 years ago. So, all right, time to talk about some Syria. Just because I think this is super interesting. Okay, so for those that are trying to figure out what's going on in Syria, they put these maps, and these maps are really, really quite messy. But I want you to think about Syria. The bulk of Syria is just this line of civilization that goes through here. Let me make sure that my I don't know how big my cursor is when you see it, but in Syria, I know what to do, because my cursor can be pretty small. What if yeah, okay. All right, I'm going to take this arrow And then I can move this arrow and people can see it. So most of Syria lives along this stretch, this little line. And it's kind of significant. I visited Syria twice. In 2009 and 2010, this was before the Arab Spring, but I did 2 trips to Syria. And so the big thing is to kind of think about Syria in this kind of northwest, northeast, southeast, and then southwest, which is kind of Damascus, right? So when the Arab Spring happened, Assad kind of lost control of a lot of the country. And so a bunch of things happened at once. Is that in the northeast, these Kurd forces, the Kurdish forces are pretty secular. They have women in their army. They probably are the most Western aligned in thought. They kind of got more independence and autonomy up here because Assad didn't have the power to take control over them. And then in the northwest, we had a lot of very religious groups kind of take power. Super religious groups. They're Salafi mainly in background. A lot of them used to be Al-Qaeda aligned, things like this. Because they don't like Assad, because Assad is an Alawite, which is a branch of Shiaism that's more secular than most Shias, but they're Shia enough that he gets funding from Iran and things like that. So we got the northwest religious guys, the northeast Kurdish people, and then in the southeast, ISIS came in and started operating. Okay, and then Assad is here trying to keep control. Now, for the U.S., and this is around the year 2015 or so, the U.S. was trying to figure out what to do. And, the U.S. didn't like Assad, and it thought that the best opportunity for success in overthrowing Assad was to support the Northwest rebels. And I remember having streams where people were like, why is America like supporting Al-Qaeda? And we were not. We were supporting, which is actually something that's going to come back and bite America, because there were many factions and different groups here. Dozens of fucking groups. And the US was funding a whole bunch of different groups up here. But specifically, there's a group called Jabhat what is it? Jabhat al-Nusra. Jabhat al-Nusra, which is now the group that you're going to be hearing about, HTS. Same group, different name. So people were saying, oh, there was all these like conspiracy theorists that were claiming that the U.S. was giving money to Jabhat al-Nusra, who was Al-Qaeda aligned, and the U.S. was not. The U.S. can't. So the big thing is, once the U.S. designates somebody as a foreign terrorist organization, it can't give money to them. No one can. Not the CIA, not the State Department, not DOD. No one in the U.S. government can give money to a terrorist organization if they've been designated a foreign terrorist organization by the U.S. So we were giving money to all sorts of other religious groups in the Northwest, but not Jabhat al-Nusra. So we did not support people in the Northeast. And everybody's like, well, why weren't we supporting people in the Northeast? Aren't the Kurds like more the most Western minded? Yes. However, because there's Kurds here and Turkey has Kurds, we were reluctant to support the Kurds because that would piss off Turkey, our ally. So U.S. is funding the rebel groups in the Northwest. And if you guys remember, the year is 2016 now, and Hillary and Trump are running for president. Hillary wanted a no-fly zone so that the Russians could not bomb. Russians are aligned with Syria, with the Assad regime. And so we she wanted a no-fly zone to prevent the Russians from bombing our allies. Trump did not. Trump got elected. Russians came in, bombed the hell out of this region, and killed all the U.S. allies, all of them. Now again, the U.S. was not supporting Jabhat al-Nusra. So the Russians bombed them all to hell. They killed them all. The U.S. then switched our funding, and we started supporting the Kurds in the northeast. However, only for the Kurds to fight ISIS. So U.S. started operating here, dealing with ISIS. Assad regime was fighting ISIS. The Kurds were fighting ISIS. Everybody was fighting ISIS, and we did a pretty good job. ISIS is nearly gone. ISIS is nearly gone in the southeast. Now, the thing is that organization, that Jabhat al-Nusra, it has a falling out with Al-Qaeda and doesn't want to be associated with them anymore. Changes their name to it's the liberation of Sham. So under the Ottoman Empire, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and Palestine were called Sham. Damascus was the capital. In the Middle East, Sham is an informal name for Damascus. So it's so you're going to hear this term Sham. But like if you're in Jordan and there's a taxi guy and he's going Sham, 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 it means these are taxis leaving for Damascus. That's that's it. So anyway, Tahrir al-Sham. Tahrir means liberation. The main square in, say, Cairo is Tahrir Square, liberation of Sham. Little ambiguous on what Sham is in this. Do they mean Sham as Syria, or do they mean Sham as the whole Levant? When I say Levant, I mean Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, Jordan. So out of a surprise out of fucking nowhere, I mean, everybody is surprised. U.S. is caught off guard, don't know what's going on. This HTS, Tahrir al-Sham, turns out they weren't mainly because Russia's been using all of their resources on Ukraine, and they forgot about Syria. This group came out of nowhere, fucking bowled down, took Aleppo, bowled down to take Homs. Once you take Homs, it's over. Homs is the crossroads city of the whole country. Boom, took Damascus. So now they'll eventually get out. This is the last kind of Alawite strongholds and Russian bases here. I mean, out of fucking nowhere, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham has HTS is like taken over the whole country except for the Kurdish area. So now we're in this situation where it's like, now HTS is also designated a foreign terrorist organization by the U.S. We can't fund them. We can't talk to them. Like, American diplomats can't talk to them if they're a terrorist organization. It's really interesting. It's super fascinating because obviously, like, Assad was a bad guy, but it's a terrorist organization that's taken over Syria right now. Now, as opposed to Israel, when people talk about, like, down here after the '67 war, they Israel took a piece of Syria called the Golan Heights, supposedly because it's high ground for tanks or artillery or whatever. It's a little overstated, but whatever the case, on the military advantage. But whatever the case, they've taken they put more forces in this buffer area. Turkey has taken these areas because these buffer areas, because it was sick of Kurds hiding out in their land and then Russians bombing. And they didn't want Russians bombing Turkish land, Turkish area. So they kind of took this area to prevent Syrian Kurds from going in. So there's these Turkish taken areas of Syria, and there's an Israel taken area of Syria, and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the whole situation there. You're gonna be hearing different things. All these people pretending like they've been paying attention to Syria, and know some things. But essentially, just if you think about it in that northwest, northeast, southeast, southwest way, it's a little simpler when you think Kurds, religious dudes, different religious dudes, ISIS. Because keep in mind, ISIS and Al Qaeda are rivals. They don't really get along. For a few reasons. They have deeply different strategic goals. Al Qaeda is more about a global inspirational movement to fight the West because it thinks the West is the root problem with regards to their goals of spreading religious ideology. While ISIL, they have a very specific localized goal. We want to create a state in Syria and Iraq that will be our caliphate. And like these like concerns about, attacking America, like in America, it's like, no, I mean, unless it's going to affect their state right there. And those, like, they're not too worried about it. So they're rivals in the sense is they're all looking for soldiers on the ground. And so they're competing for the same people to join their organizations. And so ISIS was very successful for a while because it had a more tangible local goal. While Al Qaeda is very ethereal, like, oh, let's fight America. Well, that's like an endless, unachievable goal, while ISIS was very achievable and local, so that's the big thing. Anyway. Succession is a dark comedy disguised as drama. It gets stronger each season and sticks to the landing. You are missing out, as it's absolutely hilarious. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I watched the first season. It was fine. I liked it. It just didn't have enough draw to keep me going. There's only so much like bickering, so much bickering that I can take, family bickering. I understand that it was really good and maybe I'm missing out, but I've got a few things in my queue beforehand. I did finally watch the first few episodes of Severance, and wow, I was really bowled away because I'll tell you this: I was on a plane coming back to America, and I downloaded Skeleton Crew, the kiddie Star Wars show, and Severance, and I'm watching the kiddie Star Wars show, and for some reason I just fucking thought it was so boring, and I like turned it off, and then I put on Severance, and somehow Adam Scott walking down a hallway was like, had my attention so much more than Skeleton Crew. I don't know what it was, just the way it was directed, and Ben Stiller directed it. I don't know. It's good. Let's see. Zen Buddhism played a role in making Japanese World War II fighters more willing to commit the atrocities that they did, apparently. I mean, anything can make people, any religion can make people do whatever you want. I mean, like Christianity never caused anyone to kill anyone. Certainly Islam never caused anyone to kill anyone. Like, come on. Calling it now, Clash of King Umbers will turn up in Aleppo. That's the thing. It's kind of the, Skeeter, believe it or not, you are like tapping into like what I was thinking about today. Because I was thinking about Syria, and I was like, these like missing armies that we'd forgotten about, all of a sudden coming back and like bowling in, and then I was like, huh, that's kind of like Ice and Fire. All these like missing armies, missing Manderley fleets, missing Manderley forces, like coming in, boiling stuff, bowling stuff over. So I think you are kind of right. I mean, it's just this forgotten army, like just taken over so quickly, like fucking 11 days, man. Like who would have thought that, in after the Arab Spring, when everybody saw like big tumultuous changes, like Egypt and Tunisia, that the Assad regime survived that, but then just couldn't survive the last 2 weeks. If Virgin John can be great at oral sex, why not the faceless man? Yeah, Carmine and I were, somebody posted this, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, that the explanation was that John tried. That was it. Like it wasn't that John was great. It's just that John tried, and trying is better. Trying is better than nothing, which I guess that's true. In a George R. R. Martin interview, he said that he would check lore with Elio when he wasn't sure because he trusts him. He probably knows what Wynn's progress is like. Well, I've heard people ask Elio a few times about the Wynn's progress, and Elio is as clueless as the rest of us. I mean, he says the same sort of things, that like when George is on a roll, he's pretty open about it. He posts about it. He talks to people, and he hasn't been talking about it lately. I mean, he says sort of same sort of things. But keep in mind that, like, Elio has a friendship with George and doesn't want to say too many things, to just because he doesn't want to hurt George's feelings, because it's his friend. It's serious when the red arrows come out. Kurdistan is a great place politically, really. I mean, the Syria, Kurdistan. The thing, and I think the Turks, in my opinion, the Turks and so many other a lot of other places overstated like Kurdish unity. Like the Kurds that exist in Syria and the ones that exist in Turkey, and the two different Kurdish groups that exist in Iraq, they speak different languages and they have different political ideologies, different religious ideologies. They're not, and so this idea that, oh, well, we can't support an independent Kurdish state in Iraq because that'll cause an independent Kurdish state in Turkey and that'll piss off Turkey, or we can't support an independent Kurdish state in Syria because that'll support an independent Kurdish state in Turkey and that'll piss off Turkey. I think it might be a little overstated. Like what happens to one Kurdish group, it's very loose on what happens to another. But yes, Syria, Kurdistan. I had some friends live there for a while. They think it's it's a pretty great place. But I mean, a little sleepy and boring, they would argue. But on the everyday. But no one can give terrorists money legally. But that's the thing, is how do you think like the US can't really do stuff illegally on a large scale? Like it's really, really hard without it like getting discovered. You can kind of go look back at like Reagan and the Iran hostage situation, which was that, and it got out, like it was leaked. You can't, it's really hard to do stuff secretly in the American government because somebody's going to leak it. Do you think Aerys ordered Rhaegar kidnap Lyanna, gave him some Kingsguard to do it, to get him killed, and make Viserys the heir? What is happening?
To the audience who thinks that Preston knows the secret about aliens. He doesn't. This is the same excuse he gives every fucking time I ask him about the aliens, about the black holes, about the
I mean,
interdimensional
if
species.
I guarantee
Every time.
if there were aliens, someone would have leaked it a long time ago, like that. I mean, it's just the government doesn't have any secrets, man. That's the big secret is the government doesn't have any secrets. It's except that they're really incompetent. That's it. Like
They're about to be even more incompetent coming up.
probably. But it's so funny, like looking back, because like how many people were like, no, the US is giving money to Al Qaeda. And I was like, what? No, they're not. And now that group is in charge. Like, had we been giving money to this group that's now taken over Syria, had we been giving money to them, we'd be in a good position. But we weren't. Now the U.S. is in a bad situation. But yeah. Ares ordered Rhaegar to kidnap Lyanna. And no, I think. I mean, I tend to think that Rhaegar was really trying to overthrow his dad. He says as much to Jaime. Varys is suspicious of it and told that to Ares. And so I think there may have been a political motive to Rhaegar's kidnapping of Lyanna rather than a romantic motive, or a political motive to Lyanna asking Rhaegar to kidnap her, which I think is something to think about too. That this was some coordinated thing, that the two of them conspired together to do something. But I don't think that Ares had the order on that. I think he was pretty legitimately bowled over by different opinions. But yeah, and we know the CIA always abides by American law. I mean, when is it not? That I don't understand. Like, I'm not saying that it hasn't done bad things but when did it violate law?
When they killed JFK.
Yeah, that's right.
When you say, dude, you have no idea. When you say shit like this, you have no idea how many times people go, of course he would say that because he's CIA. Of course he would say this.
Yeah. I mean, I can sit here and talk about like their like incompetence of them all day long, but yeah. It's thoughts on Carmine's tweet about George's potential replacement going viral. Seems like people are taking it out of context. What your tweet went viral?
Remember that discussion we did on George saying he may not finish, and then we talked about who could potentially take over the proteges? Before I go into that, you ever see that South Park episode about Margaritaville, about Stan trying to return to Margaritaville, and then it becomes an episode about the economy and how the economy is run, and the way they take it is the way they do it is they take a chicken, they chop off its head, and they let it run around a roulette table, and whatever it lands on, that's what the U.S. government does with the economy. That's kind of how Twitter runs its algorithm on what tweets to like make to send out. So what happened was I put out that tweet about you and I discussing the potential proteges or replacements in case George doesn't want to do it anymore. Not dying, doesn't want to do it anymore. And then someone asked me like, do you think Sanderson could do it? And I replied back to this person, we talk about Sanderson. Check out the podcast.
Yeah.
That reply goes viral. So no one sees the context. So all of a sudden everyone thinks that you and me are talking about
George Brandon dying. Sanderson, like getting,
No. They think we're talking about George dying. So therefore, you guys are disrespectful. I just had to go in like a Discord server just now to explain to this 18-year-old with a reading comprehension problem that, and by the way, at least 1/3 of this fandom has reading comprehension problems. This is I
know it's. I mean, this is what I mean. This is why we do videos for them.
I mean, so that's essentially what happened. And I had to explain. And I asked people like, where in this tweet do we talk about George's death? And I get
Mhm.
it. Like talking about George's death is it is, which is why we didn't do it. We talked about potential
Yeah.
replacements, writers, in case he
Mhm.
didn't want to do it anymore. Because I've
Right.
said multiple times, if he wants to write off into the sunset and just do whatever the fuck he wants, go for
Yeah.
it. But I think he should appoint a successor. Um, and of course, the whole thing got taken out of context. We're awful, we're this, these guys have a reputation of being mean to George. I guess that's a thing.
Do we? What?
I mm,
I'm sorry,
mm.
like admiring his work for a decade and talking about it.
No, Preston. It's not. We're not admiring his work. We're milking it. We're milking it because it
Oh right,
works.
yeah. That's the
Hmm.
only thing we care about is the clicks and the
Mm,
bucks. Yeah, that's
yeah.
right. Yeah, sorry.
But they always throw. But it's always us milking it. It's never any of the other Ice and Fire YouTubers they
No,
watch.
no,
It's
no, no,
us, the
no,
ones they
no.
disagree
This,
with. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Ah.
that's why one of the many reasons why I'm off the gutter pile that is Twitter. Um,
Man.
but ugh, ugh. Um, oh, aren't these guys an offshoot of Islamic State? No, 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 no. Al Qaeda and Islamic State are rivals. They do not get along. They do not get along. They were a offshoot. You could argue offshoot of Al Qaeda, but it's not really offshoot. It's sort of like franchising. So say you have a rebel group and you're looking for funding. You can associate and align yourself with Al Qaeda or and hope that somebody might throw you some weapons or some funding. So it's not really an offshoot. It's like, hey guys, it's more pandering. Like, didn't they pander to Al Qaeda for a while? Yes, they pandered to Al Qaeda for a while. And then and then they stopped. I think they stopped being Al Qaeda affiliated in 2017. So it's been 9 years. And they changed their name. And it's been 9 years since they were Al Qaeda affiliated. But they were never Islamic State. Because, like I say, the two are rivals. They have very different. Very different tactics and they have very different goals. The Islamic State versus Al Qaeda. They're different definitions of jihad. There's different ideas too. But thoughts on insurance adjustment. I'm not sure what an adjustment means. Let's see. Portion of your bill that your hospital or doctor has agreed not to charge. Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Like these are these fake numbers, right? Like, I don't know if I have an opinion on it. I know that when you go and you get a bill and, you go in for, let's say you go in and, you see a doctor for 15 minutes and then you get this bill for $400 and you're like, what the fuck? I was in that room for 15 minutes and he didn't even give me anything. How do I have a bill for $400? This is, people outside of America are going to be like, what are you talking about? It's like, well, the American medical system's all screwed up. Well, no one pays that $400, right? Like, you then pass it on to your insurance company and then your insurance company like negotiates and they get it down to like $50 and that $50 is paid. Or it's not paid at all. And then it just becomes like debt that no one pays, and all these people in America have tens of thousands of dollars of medical debt. I think it's lame in the sense that all of these people have their credit ruined, because of, sometimes like bills, like crazy bills that they can't pay. Like, it's an inability to even pay it out of pocket because the out of pocket is like a ridiculously inflated number. So you kind of have to have an insurance company because in other countries, say you don't have insurance, you can just pay something out of pocket and it's like a reasonable amount of money. It's not that big a deal. but in America, like everything's inflated, so no one has the ability to pay a medical bill out of pocket because it's just outrageous. Like sometimes it's like 4 to 10 times what it should be in price because the in the end the insurance company like bargains it down to a reasonable amount and things like that. So I don't honestly I don't have that much expertise on medical insurance. I in the end I just think that the entire system is so complicated and dumb that we should have a system like Canada, and just like leave it at that. And that, you know, Obamacare was a step in the right direction. And I think that, there's clearly something wrong here in America with our medical insurance company. With the fact that like a guy can be murdered and the entire country is like, that seems like a great thing. Like the entire country is like, yeah, that, like this is how screwed up it is. And the fact that there's still a large portion of America, mainly Republicans, who are like, no, we private insurance, like the American system's great. We need to dismantle Medicare, Medicaid, and the Affordable Care Act. It just astounds me. It astounds me that politicians like that exist and that they get voted into office and are currently in control of all, or come January will be in control of all the branches of government. So, yeah, it's weird. It's all very weird. The American medical system is fucked up, but what are we going to do? The Alawites will probably suffer from this, unfortunately. I think that a lot of the Alawites will probably flee the country. The Alawites, tend to be on the wealthier side, so they'll probably get out. Thoughts on the United CEO murder? So I don't think it's surprising. I think what's the most surprising thing about it is that he's gotten away so far, and that I feel like he's probably going to get caught because we got like so many pictures of his face now. But it's I think it's pretty amazing that you can just shoot somebody and then leave New York and like, wow, like that's crazy. He should have been on a flight out of the country.
People do it every day, but the victims aren't CEOs. They should be more.
That's the thing. I'm talking like when somebody wants to catch somebody, like, America has turned into this police state, with cameras everywhere. Right. And a lot of the world is cameras are fucking everywhere. So the fact that they have all of these pictures of him, block by block, but he's wearing his mask, and he took that one moment to flirt with the woman at the hostel and ends up revealing his face is the thing that
he kind of looks like Trey a little bit. I'm almost tempted to ask Trey where he was that night.
I mean, I will say the only thing, and I don't know like when or if they're going to catch him, but I'm trying to think. He kind of has a boring, handsome face, right? Like it's pretty neutral features, right?
I don't know. When you're carrying out the will of the people, you look pretty hot to me.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, he's smiling. Everybody looks better.
By the way, did you see what happened afterwards? After this guy like before he died, Blue Shield announced some cap on anesthesia. After he dies, a couple hours later, Blue Shield rescinds that the cap on anesthesia. Did you see that? And, hey man, hopefully they go after landlords next, so we can get some of those rent prices going down.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just one of these things where you're just surprised it doesn't happen more, like more to more people out there. Um, like why not? That's the thing is
But this
if it's
guy,
just so easy, it's just so easy to actually get people.
I know. If he was
Um,
my neighbor and I hated him so much. If my neighbor who I hate was the guy that I still wouldn't turn him in. I still wouldn't. Anyone who turns this person in should be stoned. I still wouldn't turn him in. Guy's a hero.
it's an odd thing because about who were and I will say that I'm certainly a lot of people would condemn what you're saying right now, Carmine. I'm kind of like in this situation where we're
Do you want
kind
to know
of
the only people condemning what I'm saying?
hmm.
Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh. They're the only guys condemning what I'm saying.
Well, some people will be like, well, it's still murder and it's that he's still had a wife and kids and stuff like that. Um,
So did all the people that United Health fucked over on the insurance stuff.
that's the thing, right? We're kind of told like at different times, like by different people, like this person we should be okay with them being killed, and this person we shouldn't. Sometimes on the news they'll be like, "Oh, the U.S. did a strike against somebody," and Abu al Ahmed, al somebody you've never heard of before was killed, and we can assure you he was a bad guy. And you're like, okay, well, he had a wife and kids, probably, but we're all assured that this guy was a bad guy and deserved to die, and so thus the killing is justified. If killing is justified if the person is proven to be a bad guy, right? We're told this over and over again. Our movies reinforce this idea. It's okay when the hero kills the bad guy if the bad guy is proven to be a bad guy, right? So I can understand the situation we're in right now, where it's very clear that the person that was murdered was a bad guy, and so now the killer of the bad guy is becoming the good guy because he killed the bad guy, Um, I guess my position is maybe we should just stop killing everybody. Maybe no one should be killed. Maybe we need to start having nets, just shooting big, like drop nets instead of bombs. Be like Spider-Man, drop massive nets. I know it's impossible. Killing people is just much too easy. Will Theon ever process that Ramsay took his dick? I mean, I think so. I think he's processed it. He just doesn't want. It's just a lot. I think it's a trauma he just doesn't want to think about, right? But yeah, I mean, over time he's going to know about all of that. I mean, he hates Ramsay. He's scared of Ramsay. I think it's processed. It's just he's just in a lot of trauma and shock. I don't think he's in like denial. It's just a lot of shock. Greetings, what up, Preston? Thanks for the Syria info. I want to say to everyone to push to recast and reshoot Game of Thrones. You might laugh. Imagine. I think it'll be a long time before they redo Game of Thrones. I mean, I'm very surprised that Harry Potter is getting rebooted so quick. And the same with like Spider-Man and such. But I don't know if we're gonna get Game of Thrones redone.
I hope not, because again, I encourage everyone to read that book, The Making of the Show. A Fire Cannot Kill a Dragon. Elio mentioned it in the interview. I can't encourage everyone enough to read it because they caught lightning in a bottle. Like
Yeah.
all the stuff that that went wrong but turned up being so good is crazy. It's almost as though like the stars aligned, the planets and the stars aligned to get everything so good. Preston, you don't understand. You don't understand like how good we had it in the earlier seasons. Later seasons, yes, suck, whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
But in
yeah.
the earlier seasons, you don't know how good we had it. All by mistake or because of budget or weather, everything turned out to be fucking amazing. You don't
Mm.
know how good we have it. So if you try to replicate that, you're not gonna. Unless you're gonna like try to do the show like the first few seasons, like point by point. But it was just cast perfectly. Like, how can you replace any of those actors? The only person maybe you could replace would be like having the Mountain be a consistent actor throughout, and
Hmm.
Dario as well. But other than that, because I think the Mountain from season 1 is like the best Mountain we ever had. He just looks like a mad dog.
Yeah, yeah. I see. Before they pulled in the world's strongest man, and he was all like buff
Believe it
and
or not, the Mountain in season 2 was a different guy. We had 3 different
Mhm.
Mountains.
Yeah, I remember. I think yeah, I mean, I remember I think Mountain season 1 was the best. Mountain season 2, he seemed a little skinny. He was very tall, but he seemed a little skinny to me. And then third Mountain seemed too hairless and clean and shiny, you know? Um, but you're right. The first Mountain was great. First Mountain was, I mean, yeah, lightning in a bottle. Like, that's the question of like, how much luck does it take when like a really great piece of art comes together? Um, and uh, it's, how much of that with Game of Thrones? Uh, yeah, but it's a lot of planning too. So it's not just lightning in a bottle, right? It's like a lot of hard work and planning. Like people say that about like Lord of the Rings too. Like, oh, it's lightning in a bottle. They just get it, but it's like so much planning, money too. Hmm.
Speaking of the Harry Potter show, that's another one of my I don't know. I know you're not on Twitter anymore. That's another one of my tweets that went kind of like big. Is
So
me
great,
telling people.
so great not to be on Twitter. Oh my god,
No,
fucking
no, no,
love
no.
it.
That's
Oh,
another
it's
no
so
for a good
wonderful,
reason. For a good
so
reason.
wonderful.
I said a lot of J.K. Rowling's newest fans are about to find out why they weren't 10 years ago. Because her newest fans are right wingers who love her for shitting on the trans people, but they don't
Mm.
remember what she was doing 10 plus years ago, where she was telling people that Hermione was black all along when that wasn't the case. And if there's one thing right wingers hate, it's black people. So they're about to
You
find
know who
out.
had a you know who had a really great conversation recently with Ben Shapiro was Neil deGrasse Tyson. Um,
Oh? Huh.
yeah, they were talking about trans people, and Neil
Hmm.
deGrasse Tyson's like, I don't understand. He's like, and Ben Shapiro's like, but this is anti-science, and he's like, how is it anti-science? Like, it is a fact that there are trans people in the world, like who have different opinions about their gender. Like, that's not. I'm, like that's not anti-science. Like, it was very funny, but it was. But yeah, no, I didn't like. J.K. Rowling is fucking bonkers. And she's fucking bonkers because I know she posts every single day trashing trans people. And I'm like, what are you fucking doing with your life, billionaire? Like, what are you doing with your life? These fucking crazy ass billionaires, man. What the
Give it a
fuck?
minute. Well, the reason I say that is because I should probably add some context to that. Is because you've seen Harry Potter, so you know who Snape is,
Yes.
the character of Snape. Yeah, they're gonna hire a black guy to play Snape.
Okay.
So that's gonna upset a lot of people. And what people don't remember is that back in the day, J.K. Rowling was very
Mm.
progressive, going back and retconning Hermione's skin tone,
Right,
Dumbledore being
right.
gay, a bunch of stuff. They right wingers don't remember that because grift wasn't profitable back then. It is now, so they're going to be very upset with her when
Right.
she
Do you
defends Snape
think
being
she's
black.
gonna yeah. Um
She's going to defend the Snape being black casting. I promise you, she's going to do it. She defended Hermione. She'll defend this. People,
yeah,
her
probably.
newer fans forgot this.
Right. And so that's the thing is she's gonna find herself like with no home, right? Because like the people she pissed off are angry at her about her anti-trans stuff, and then the people that like cheer her on are gonna hate her about the The Black Snape thing. Oh man,
mm-hmm.
man, oh man, oh man. Um, Preston, are you crazy? There's like a million examples of the CIA breaking the law, experimenting on and surveilling U.S. citizens. Um, I think the surveilling U.S. citizens thing was, I would say that it was probably technically legal, but not in the spirit of it, right? Like this was about data. Like if your data transfers internationally and then comes back, right? Then the CIA and NSA can like look at it because your data went international, and so it crossed into their domain. And this was the whole thing that Snowden was talking about. That you're like, he was whistleblowing on something being kind of in the spirit. It's in the spirit illegal, but like technically still legal because the data is going international, right? So there's like, this is like, lawyers like taking axes and cutting hairs. Um, I think that this situation where I don't think you'll have a situation where somebody like knows something is against the law, and you'll have some federal employee like going forward and doing it intentionally, unless they're doing it for like for their own self gain, and they're going to get caught by a criminal investigator later. But you know, let's see. I don't know about. Let's see here. And then there's this question of what this like MK Ultra was, this kind of thing. (1953). I mean, you can claim this is like morally horrible, but is it illegal? You know, um, you know, that's these questions. Um, that's the thing, is like what is immoral is not necessarily what is illegal. Yeah, I know. I mean, I definitely read about the um the experiments. I think I listened to a podcast about it once. Maxwell, this is funny. This is like half of them. This is half of America right here. But Maxwell's joking here. But of course, Obamacare is awful. The Affordable Care Act is so much better. But it is true that when you interview people about like their approval of the Affordable Care Act and Obamacare, that you get vastly different percentages. Vastly different percentages. Um, um, so, Carmine, you think we'll be able to? Do you think we'll be able to do Berserk this week?
Are you genuinely liking this fucking thing? Are you like really into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, I'm down. It pretty much depends on Trey at this point. I
That's
mean, I know he's on the run. I mean, I know he's like been
He's on
busy
the
lately,
run. It's true that after shooting that,
but
could you imagine?
hey man, look, all I know is if that's the case, I don't know
He'd
him.
be
I
like,
don't know
hey
anything.
guys, um, I decided that it would be a really neat story. I want to tell you a story about a time that me and my dad went to New York City. Um,
Oh, Jesus.
anyway, I went up to New York City, and at first we went to the New York's National Science Museum, and then I decided to kill a CEO.
Realistically speaking, if he fucking did that, I would be so upset, buddy. You can confess all you want, not with me in the same fucking recording. Please, for the love of God, I can't have this smoke. I can't. I can't have this smoke. I can't be in trouble. I can't have this smoke.
Yeah, yeah. HTS isn't Al Qaeda. Well, like I say, they were Al Qaeda under their previous name. They were Al Qaeda affiliated up until 2017, and then, but yes, Al Qaeda and ISIS are are not on the same side, but they are kind of in different regions of Iraq. So, like, I mean, in Syria, so they don't have too much opportunity to fight each other, but they compete. You know, they're more rivals. But it's hard. It's hard for HTS to fight ISIS because they're not in the same region of Syria. But yes. Um, but like, keep in mind, HTS is a designated terrorist organization by the United States. Um, they because of their previous Al Qaeda ties. But yes. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. Let's see here. Animated Game of Thrones, but so I think to get to the point where we're redoing Game of Thrones, and I'm not saying that it's not gonna. I don't know. I don't know if it'll ever happen because one, you in order for a new Game of Thrones to get rebooted, you'd have to have like HBO owns the rights for a long time, right? So like HBO would have to do it. But then they have all this other Game of Thrones material to do, like Dunk and Egg and House of the Dragon and whatever else they want to do. But say like we're talking 50 years in the future, George is never going to finish. So like who wants to adapt an unfinished product like that? I mean, maybe they would do like season one again or something. How they keep readapting the first part of Dune and never getting to the end of Dune because Dune also is unfinished. But like they can just kind of redo the beginning of Dune over and over again. But it's a little different because Dune is a more self-contained story than say a Game of Thrones is as a book. So, you know, with Lord of the Rings and with Harry Potter, it's a completed story. So I think that makes the remake more likely. I'm trying to think of anything that's been adapted that's been unfinished other than Dune and Game of Thrones. Can you think of anything, Carmine, that like an adaptation, an unfinished series?
What's funny is that there are so many, but what are the immediate examples? Jesus.
Yeah, I guess we'll look up unfinished series. Popular unfinished series books. Okay. I've never heard of any of these. This is What is your favorite unfinished book series? Here we go. Um, oh, Dirk Gently by Douglas Adams. That you're right. That they did do a Dirk Gently movie, didn't they?
I don't remember, but I can think of one off the top of my head. It's a movie, not a show. It's the Aragon series.
Mm.
The one about the kid with the dragon.
Melanie Ron's Exiles.
What's the
Um,
one with the city is on a giant? It's on like a pair of legs and it like swallows up other cities. That one I know they
Mortal
didn't go
Engines.
into. There you
Mortal
go. I
Engines.
don't think
That is
more on
that that
those.
wasn't finished.
I mean, the books I'm sure maybe are finished, but it was a movie, and then I guess they were going to make more, and then they never went
Oh
through with
well,
it.
yeah. There's that. There's like I'm talking when like a book series because they're always looking for book series to adapt, right? Um,
Hmm.
I guess. I guess Berserk. Um,
That's ongoing. We'll see. We'll see where they go. That's ongoing. They're trying to finish it.
a Girl with a Dragon Tattoo was that supposed to be more than 3 books? I don't know. The Christ the Lord series by Anne Rice. Dune. Huh. Clive Barker's Abarat series. The Girl from the Coast. Aragon. Technically finished, but they had a lot of threads to finish up. I guess there's a
Yeah,
few,
Eric.
but it's just yeah. But it's like, would anyone want to adapt? Like, in order to get to the point where they would be readapting Ice and Fire again, you'd have to cut off all of these other projects. All of these other projects would have to fail, and then they'd have to be like, let's adapt this unfinished story again. So I don't know. I mean, maybe in 50 years after I'm dead and the fanfic is finished, somebody is like, "Hey, we've got this fanfic version. Let's finish Game of Thrones with the fanfic ending. We'll all be dead, but maybe." If AI gets good cheap enough, there will be endless season 8 fan remakes. I hate AI, but somewhat fantasize about this. I don't think so. In my personal opinion, I don't think AI is going anywhere. And I think it has to do with the fact that the progress of AI is going to be logarithmic with regards to information. Like, let me quickly describe what I'm talking about here. Okay, so say you've got, this is a logarithmic curve, and when I say logarithmic, we just mean diminishing, right? Diminishing as time goes on. So so let's do information. And then what's the other one? Time? I'm going to put time. No, I think it's like no, Mike. I'm doing this wrong. This is going to be ability. You want to say the AI's ability? All right. I got this chart here. So let's see. As more information is given, do I need to switch my axes here? See, this is actually a crappy thing with my logarithmic scale because it's not going up. It's not going up in a very good rate. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. The point I was making is that as you add information, the AI's ability gets slower and slower with each addition, with more and more additional information. So we have the entire internet has been plugged into AI, and it's only gotten this much better. So, and if we added a whole nother internet, you're only going to get a marginal improvement. And we add in like 4 more internets worth of information. You're maybe getting an AI that's twice as good, you know? And so the problem is that human beings, creative human beings, are the ones that need to make this good information. And so we already have the whole internet. How much time will it take for creative human beings to create a second internet to cause a slightly greater improvement to the AI? But then, so it's a lot, right? Like humans have to keep doing things creatively for a long, long time to cause very small improvements to AI. Like AI isn't just going to improve on its fucking own. It needs more information to improve itself with. But also the problem is now AI is shitting in the information. The internet is now becoming the information. Google is abysmal right now. I Google stuff, honestly, like half of my Google searches recently, like I've been Googling like basic information and the AI is giving me something that's wrong. And it's like AI answer and it's shit. And I'm like, what is this? Like AI has ruined and poisoned the information. So now the information that's supposed to be improving the AI is all ruined. And so it's like, imagine if you programmed a robot to mimic human behavior. You got the robot sitting around, and at first he's watching a bunch of human beings and being like, okay, I'm watching that guy. Now I understand humans a little bit. Now I'm watching that guy. Now I know humans a little bit more. He's getting better. He's watched 10 humans. He's gotten to level 1. He watches 100 humans. He gets to level 2. He watches 10,000 humans. He gets to level 3. At some point, he's going to run out of humans to look at. He just can't look at that many. But then all of a sudden, other androids are around. And now he's watching other inept, stupid androids who are watching each other, trying to figure out how to be human. And like, how can androids figure out how to be human when they're watching each other and getting the wrong idea about how to be human by watching another android? Which is why I think AI is falling fucking apart. I don't think there's any future in AI. Because you fundamentally need unless there's a revolutionary change to how it works, and how it's programmed. Like, I don't think it's going anywhere. It's exactly like, yeah, if you threw a bunch of robots into a pack of robot observing humans, like robots who are programmed to observe humans, and now they're observing other robots. Like that's the 2 major problems. You don't have enough humans for the robots to learn, and then you now have robots in there too, like fucking them up. So, but yeah, I don't think that we're getting that point with like creative writing. Like AI can create sometimes like intelligible sentences that are great, and it's great for repetitive stuff. Like if you're a teacher and you want to do an AI like performance appraisal of a student, you'd be like, please write me a performance appraisal of a student who is having trouble in reading but is doing really well in math, and you know, it's out. That's pretty easy. But when you're saying like write an original creative story, no, it just won't be able to do that. It won't be able to figure it out. Until it has just massive amount of more information to put in. What, are you scared of AI, Carmine? Are you scared of the thinking machines?
You should be.
Mm-hmm.
It's because give it a couple more years. By the way, did you forget the thing that you said to me on the podcast where you made a very good point about this? Is you were talking about how, and this is, I think, the main point you should be pushing, is that what AI can't do is make those amazing twists that George did in later books.
Yes, I mean, it's hard enough. It's hard enough for what's hard enough for me. So Carmine and I in the podcast we were talking about. I'm kind like when we write something with the podcast with the fanfic, it's hard because there's certain twists and there's certain things out of character that needs to happen sometimes. Sometimes a character needs to act out of character. And sometimes there needs to be a plot twist that's out of nowhere. And you feel like you can't do it because you're trying to write the character in character. In Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Joss Whedon's whole thing is he would take a character, you get to know him for a while, like Giles, and then all of a sudden he'd do something completely out of character in order to shock you. And it got to the point where people were kind of rolling their eyes at this. But like, if you were trying to write something in that universe and mimic it and stay faithful to it, you would never get the Giles trying to kill Spike plot line or whatever. You would never get, if you were an AI, would you ever write the Aegon plot? That Aegon coming out of fucking nowhere and Jon Con coming out of nowhere and totally changing the plot around, it just wouldn't happen. These huge shifts and changes. Like, for instance, take Dune. Okay. If you were writing a sequel to Children of Dune in a fanfic sense, would you ever in a million years write God Emperor of Dune taking place, 1,000 years later with a worm emperor? And after that, would you write the fanfic of like a bunch of sexy space nuns coming in? Would you do what Herbert did, like what Frank Herbert did, if you were trying to write a fanfic in that universe? No, you'd try to stay faithful. It's hard to be as bold as George R. Martin is when you're George R. Martin doesn't need to worry about about staying faithful because he's fucking George, right? George can do whatever he wants. He doesn't have to worry about staying faithful. But other people have to, when it's not your sandbox, you have to worry about staying faithful. I'm like 2 hours behind your stream, but love your vids. Please make more theory vids. Thank you. I mean, I try. It's so hard these days. I've been so fucking busy, and there's been so many projects to get on. But I'd like to get back to doing a theory vid. Oh, is Percy Jackson not finished? Or are they just more Percy Jacksons? Although Rick Riordan claimed he's finished writing books in the Percy Jackson series, he's going to write 2 more. That's what money does. Dune is kind of finished. Herbert's son did finish it. It's not as good, but to be honest, books 5 and 6 were bad too. That's true. By the way, the new Dune series is fucking great. You would agree, Carmine?
Oh, Did you watch episode 3 finally?
I watched episode 3, yeah.
Oh man. So good.
It's fucking dark, yeah. Yeah.
Where the hell has HBO been? Like, I feel like HBO has not really been any. I don't know, man. Like, what's funny is we were all hyped for House of the Dragon season 2, and it ended up being okay. But yeah. Penguin, Dune, what the fuck? What happened?
The Dune Prophecy it's roughly based on a Brian Herbert book, right? It's roughly based on Sisterhood of Dune by Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson. So it's interesting that and it's only loosely based, but still it's like it's really fucking good for being based on um, the other material, you know. So not even
I really want more, and I hope to God it takes place in the Denis Villeneuve Dune universe. It's a prequel to that.
mhm.
But have you noticed the CGI is just top notch? It's like
Good.
movie quality CGI.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
good.
absolutely. It looks like everything spent. They spent a really good, really, I mean, really good amount of time on stuff. It's super well. Oh my god, it's so well acted, and I'm liking it because now in at first there's so many, you know, it's like Game of Thrones. You start with so many characters, and I think by episode 3, I'm like, wow, I'm starting to care about all of the characters and understand who they are now, and
Hmm.
it's really good. It's really fucking good. I'm really pleasantly surprised at how good, because we were, again, this was one of those who asked for this show. And we're like,
I guess we did.
you know,
I guess we asked for it. Yeah. Just so
right?
you know,
And
we're
here
at
it
the halfway
is.
point now. It's only 6 episodes.
Yeah, I know, but it was really, yeah, very very well acted, very interesting. So, but again, like it I suppose Brian Herbert being Frank Herbert's son might be more bold and being like, this is what I'm gonna fucking do. I'm gonna do something crazy. But you know, um, but he wasn't even that crazy. I mean, the craziest thing he did was made the big baddie at the end the thinking machines. But even that is, you're still bringing something from the universe in. Um, so it's not exactly too surprising. I'm trying to think of anything that's just out of nowhere, crazy, that somebody that he would have done, that where somebody's been like, "Wow, how did he do that? That was, who would have thought of that?" Um, because I'm thinking of like the Star Wars sequel series. Was there anything super crazy in the Star Wars sequel series where where it was just out of left field,
Ryan Johnson came close.
with the like
Um,
Luke like deciding that the Jedi's sucked? Yeah.
no, you mention it all the time, actually. Kylo Ren killing the Supreme Leader guy and saying, fuck it. Fuck all the shit that came before. Let's do something new. And the reason I say it came close is
Mm,
because you always mention that. I think you always say how Rey should have taken his hand, and that should have been the final movie, the Resistance trying to fight Rey and Kylo at the same time. They almost did something like that.
that would have been fucking great. But even Ryan Johnson fucked up. Even, I mean,
Yeah.
Ryan John like, it would have, Last Jedi would have been great if Rey never came back and just went off with Kylo. That would have been fucking great.
Mm.
And if that, and they cut the fucking casino, if they had no casino and Rey runs off with Kylo Ren at the end, that would have been a fucking banger movie. That would have been fucking great. um, would you consider narrating the Forsaken and Victorian chapters so we have a complete Preston the Winds of Winter audio experience? Oh, well, thank you. I guess I could, but the thing is also like, one of the things I thought about is that like, as I eventually, there's going to be like edits of mistakes I made, like big mistakes that I made that I had to change, and I have to like go back and redo the audio. I may have to redo the audio of the whole fucking thing eventually down the line, which, ugh, ugh. I mean, I just put George in there because people like hearing George, and but yeah, it's uh, I don't know. Maybe it takes a bit of time. Uh, if I get some more demand, I think a lot of people like George's narration of the Forsaken and half of Victorian. Uh, uh, uh. Um. Oh, what was Varys's plan regarding Aerys before Griff was born? Hmm. See, this is so, Derek, you're actually like honing in on one of the problems with Varys is a Blackfire theory. Um, is one is that like the Blackfire concept wasn't even invented until sometime between A Storm of Swords and a Feast for Crows. So Varys was clearly planning something, but for what? For a plot point that didn't exist yet. But it's true that Varys acted in support of Aerys his entire time with Aerys. He was like rightfully like giving him like real advice. Like, yeah, your son Rhaegar is teaming up against you. Yeah, that was true. That was true. So, you know, unless we find out some other information later that he was secretly also scheming against Varys, but we don't have that yet. I mean, you could retcon everything and say that, okay, Varys actually did want to get rid um, of Aerys, but and that he had some other Blackfire that he wanted to put in there. But I'm trying to think where he was during the Ninepenny Kings. Okay, War of the Ninepenny Kings happens in 260. Is Varys even born yet? How old's Varys? Oh, we have no fucking clue. We have no fucking clue how old he is. His stories don't really have a time period on it. But well, Aerys isn't even king during Ninepenny Kings, is he? It's Jaehaerys II anyway. What was Varys' plan before Griff was born? See, this is a real. I mean, you're right that like he doesn't feel the need to. I mean, I guess really his plan is just to keep Aerys in power, and you could maybe hope that like his plan was eventually to have. Okay, I'm going to come up with something that Aerys' original plan is to try to get Rhaegar's daughter, Rhaenys, to marry. Well, Griff isn't born yet, so let's say Griff's dad or Griff's parents. That he eventually wants to be advisor to Aerys and gain enough trust that his children are going to be married to Blackfires, and that the Blackfires would eventually remarry into the Mad King's family over time, and like with enough trust. So Varys just wants to build his trust, and then eventually he can marry Rhaegar's children to a Blackfire and try to bring the Blackfires into power. Let's say that's his like original plan. And then Aerys is deposed and he's like, fuck it. I guess I'll just bring the Blackfires over in some way and try to marry him to Daenerys anyway. So, yeah. He wants, his original plan is to try to. What's funny is if the plan was the same. I mean, Griff isn't born yet, but like his eventual plan is to like marry him into like Daenerys, and then he can kill off Rhaegar and everybody and make until the Blackfires are ruling, or just marry or have them marry into the heir at some point. That his plan was more peaceful at that point, but once Aerys is kicked out, he has to switch to something even crazier. Or one could argue that, which some fans have argued, is that they're actually the whole Blackfire thing is a red herring, and that it's Illyrio's kid, and that he didn't have a plan before because he wasn't friends with Illyrio yet. He became friends with Illyrio and was like, "Yeah, let's make your kid, assuming Griff is Illyrio's kid, let's make your kid king or whatever." That he heard about Illyrio's situation, finds out that Illyrio's wife was a Blackfire or something, and is caught up in it. Or he had no hope. He was just like living day to day, not caring. And then Illyrio gives him inspiration, you know. But Varys is there. Yeah, I guess they're just hoping for a marriage. Hoping for a marriage. So what'd you do this weekend, Carmine?
Oh, stuff. I'm surprised you're still going strong, by the way, because it's I know it's probably 12 for you.
I'm in DC right now, so it's 11.
Oh shit! Oh, how long are you gonna be in DC for?
Just a week.
Good. We can stream and go far.
Yeah, I came back, did some carousel sushi, with the Kura. Went to Chipotle, get my fill. The corn in Westeros is maize. Check out Arya 3, A Clash of Kings. So they definitely have. So Westeros definitely has New World food. Like there's definitely turkeys, and other things. So it's not sweet corn definitely exists, like American corn. Yeah. So what he's talking about is in A Clash of Kings, Arya 3, outside a holdfast called Briarwhite, some field hands surrounded them in a cornfield, demanding coin for the ears they'd taken. So yes, there's definitely like American corn. And when I say American, I mean corn. Corn, I think it's native originally to Mexico, and was much smaller and whatever than modern genetically altered corn. Genetically altered in years and years of breeding. But yeah, there's definitely sweet corn in America. I think, do they mention, is potatoes only on the show? That's the weird thing about, see, there's your flaw in the Lord of the Rings movies, man. There's no, it's the potatoes scene in Fellowship of the Rings. You know what I'm talking about?
Where Sam goes, potatoes, mashed
potatoes. And they're like, what are you doing cooking? And he's like, no 11sies and all of that. And you're like, you idiots. And the ring wraiths come. Yeah. What are they doing with potatoes in Middle Earth? Where are they getting potatoes? Potatoes, I think, are for Peru. You know, how did they make such a mistake? Why would they be eating potatoes?
I don't think there's any mention of potatoes in the text, is there?
Oh, in Lord of the Rings?
In Ice and Fire.
No, there's no potatoes in my
So no potatoes, no tobacco.
Huh. Yeah, that's right.
Wow. Okay.
But there is sweet corn. There is corn, and turkey, and some other things. I wonder if somebody else has already cataloged them. in. No one has cataloged them yet. Like which things are in Westeros, and which like um
I actually have a quote from George here.
what's that?
Like, Tolkien famously had potatoes in the Shire, and the Shire otherwise seems very much like medieval England. Well, what the hell were potatoes doing there? But he obviously likes his taters, so he has Samwise talking about how do you want to make your rabbits with some nice taters or something like that. I have
Oh, I
corn in
see.
my roll, and it's the American corn. It's maize. They had to work corn in ancient times of medieval, but it was just a word for grain. It didn't mean maize. But I
Huh.
like corn. I stuck it in, and does it feel wrong? I don't know. Some readers have complained about it. I can send
Really?
you the
Who
whole thing later.
who complain? Who like sent him? He always talks about like these emails and discussions he gets with people, and I'm like, who is talking to you and wasting their moments with you to talk about corn and how much they don't like it? It's hard to believe. Hard to believe that somebody wasted their time with him on that.
I have George. I was actually talking about
Rather
this
than
earlier. I have
asking him about
George's email.
Harangan mines, rather than fucking asking him about the Harangan mines.
You already know this, and I was saying this to someone in my server, but I have George's email. It's just I'm contemplating on what it should be, what I should say in the email because I don't want to waste the chance. But here is the post I sent to you on Facebook.
Um, let me see this. Oh yeah, why no potatoes? Man, that's so funny. Yeah, I mean that's the thing is what are you gonna say? Unless it's like organizing something to like meet him, interview him or something business related. I can't think of anything. Newfound respect for Roy Dotrice, perhaps. I've always had mad respect for Roy Dotrice. Roy Dotrice is an incredible actor. In interviews, he's been interesting, fascinating guy. He had a great career, wonderful life, great voice actor. He's a guy that generally never got he never got the fame he deserved. Um, I mean, it's funny that like Ice and Fire is what he's known for when he was like, was this like film and stage and a theater actor for so many fucking years. Maybe it's different. Maybe people know him more in England or something, but I don't know. He was one of the greats. Um, but I have mad respect for him. Skagos unicorn is rhino or horse with Shope papilloma. So so what Jonah is getting at here is that unicorns have been mentioned in different literature a lot, and occasionally what they mean is a rhino, or occasionally they mean other animals um, that have a single horn that we wouldn't think of as a unicorn. But I think he talks about them being hairy and shaggy, which makes me think that either it's a Siberian unicorn, like one of these, or Siberian hairy rhino things that existed many, many years ago, or there's another animal. There's another like extinct animal. That people have been talking about. I'm trying to get the exact name for it. Oh, this is the same one. Islasmavarium sibericum or something. Siberian unicorn. It's the same. Elasmotherium. Elasmotherium. Some people think that maybe George is talking about that, but he does talk about them being shaggy, having shaggy hair, which makes a rhino not really the thing. But man, these Elasmotheriums are fucking crazy. I mean, it's more like a. Let me get a picture up here, because it's more like a buffalo with a horn than anything, you know. This is the Elasmotherium, kind of like a big furry rhino or whatever, but it's the description seems to be some sort of extinct animal because of the shaggy aspect to them. Because where else would you have? I've never in any other form, like, has there ever been a here we go. The Skagosi ride great shaggy unicorns to war. You know, it's got to be these Siberian things. The unicorns are actually guys in weird outfits. Oh, that'd be incredible. Yeah. It's really what Danny Sexbag and Ninja Brian like dressed as unicorns and from Ninja Sex Party, pretending to be unicorns. I was expecting you to get the reference, Carmine. This potato thing is dumb. Westeros is not Europe. They have different native vegetables than we do. Yeah, you know. Did you watch? This is getting into, because now I want to talk about Skeleton Crew. Did you watch Skeleton Crew, Carmine?
I did both episodes. Yes.
So Skeleton Crew, like, okay, it was more boring than I thought. The acting was much better than I thought it was going to be.
You know what? Yeah, kid actors kind of suck sometimes, but these were actually not bad.
The kid actors were pretty good, and it's a kids show.
Did you watch it with your kids?
No.
That's kind of the point.
No. Well, I gotta make sure that there's nothing like too violent on there, you know. Maybe I should have. I don't know. But so one thing that annoys me about Skeleton Crew, and this is the same thing that annoyed me about Book of Boba Fett, and it's what annoys me about some of the aspects of the prequels, is that it's too familiar. Like, it's too close to like American society. You know what I'm talking about? With, like, you know how the mods on Tatooine were just a little too like us. You know, they weren't alien enough. They were too familiar. Or like the diner scene in Attack of the Clones, right? He goes to a fucking American diner and to talk to the guy about the bounty hunter thing. And so Skeleton Crew, it's about a kid who lives in a fucking American suburb. and they're riding like American bicycles with like tassels on the handlebars of the American bicycles, and they fucking like, you know, the kids are all wearing like American backpacks and going to, you know, it's just like too familiar. Like the streets had curbs and sidewalks and houses. It was like all set up suburban style. And I'm just like, oh, it's just too familiar. It's like the mods and what like my problem with the mods in Book of Boba Fett and my problem with that fucking diner in Attack of the Clones. Like, I want this to be an alien world, and yet they keep making everything so familiar. Like, why on earth would things be that familiar a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away? Is it like just does the universe naturally come to suburbs? Is that like what the natural state of like Europe, like order in the universe is? That like in two completely different places, they would have suburbs and bicycles with tassels coming from the handlebars, and people racing candy apple red like motorbikes as mods and making diners. It's just so odd, right? This doesn't bother you, Carmine?
No, it doesn't bother me. I know what it is. It is what it is. It's the Goonies. It is what it is.
I guess, but you know, it's just a little too familiar to me. I just figure when people watch Star Wars, they want something alien. They want something alien and imaginative, not something, you know, oh, you took, you know, imagine if like they got into a Toyota Prius and like drove to the Tashi station and it was a fucking Shell gas station. Like, doesn't that take you out of it?
There was a do you mind if I answer your question with like a moment from Star Wars history?
Okay.
There's a moment where Mark Hamill's on Conan O'Brien, and he's telling the story about like, hey George, don't you think the Wookiee should have pants and this and that? And Harrison Ford stops him and says, "Kid, it's not that kind of movie. Preston, it's not that kind of show. Come on, stop. It's not that kind of. You're overthinking it."
So, but it's also the weird thing about like fantasy. Like fantasy is doing the same thing where they're going back to like a medieval time, but it's not really medieval time. Like why does this fantasy world exist that's so similar and hints at stuff from our medieval life? Like why would that happen? why does this strange fantasy world exist? Like, examining fantasy for what it is really quite an odd thing. Like it's going to be very familiar to our world, but it's completely not our world, right? So, but it's true. Westeros is not Europe. But the thing is, they should have their own native veggies. Shouldn't they have, if this were a real different world, shouldn't they have stuff that we've never seen before? Shouldn't they have like, you know, be like Dr. Seuss vegetables, Zorbizobs and Pooferpums, you know? Like it's never that.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
It's onions. You know? My father used to always have a problem with Star Trek where he's like, how come when they're talking, this happens 500 years in the future. How come when they're using all of their science terms, it's always the same science terms we know today? It's always like a neutrino beam and tachyon rate of radiation and stuff like that. Don't you think in 500 years they would have discovered something new and they would be, you know, shooting the flip-flap beam instead of the fucking neutrino beam? There's never new stuff, you know? But yeah, okay. I just used AI to write Davos 1. I know oddly specific details like the Merman's Court and Wolf's Den, but also thinks that Wyman is still at White Harbor. It's always going to be the case with AI. It's never going to get things. It amazes you, and then it's just you're just like, oh my god, it's so off. It's so off. That's very funny.
He wrote Davos 1 using AI.
Yeah,
Is that what he
yeah.
said?
I'm gonna be. I'm sure it'll be interesting.
It's like what you said before. No matter how good AI gets, it will never be able to write a successful twist or a satisfying twist.
Right.
Never.
Because that goes against its very nature.
Hmm.
Is it's trying not to, right? Uh, 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 uh. Let's see here. Preston, do you know that the mythical Unk status is Unk's UNC status? What it is? Does Carmine?
It's basically if someone has the unk status, it's they act older than their actual age. We guarantee you know. So I'm reading it here. We guarantee you know somebody who fits this description. They're about your age, but they might use weird, outdated words that nobody their age has business knowing. They still listen to the radio. They spend thousands of dollars on ugly paint jobs for their car. The list goes on. They watch old school shows like MASH and Family Matters. They grunt when they lift something heavy. Um, eh.
Ah, I see. I see.
Carmine think you've achieved it. Uh, do I think you've achieved old man yelling at clouds status? In the last live stream we did, you went off on a tangent for like
Oh yeah.
15 minutes about that guy doing lowercase lettering on Twitter.
Oh, that's totally.
That's
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I was like yelling at a cloud, but thankfully, thankfully, that was a short-lived like aspect of our society, and it died, and it won't continue on. You know, it was a
I
fad.
was to Bane here, and Preston needs to listen to this very carefully because he has a kid that's coming from the newer generation. I
Mm.
have friends who are teachers who are getting so annoyed that the slang is not even slang anymore. You know, it's not like whack or dude or bro or whatever. The slang coming up from the newer generation, they're just noises. And pretty soon, like slang won't be slang. It'll just be like mating calls, but like for dumb fucks, you know, like blah, blah, blah. Oh, dude, that was so blah, 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 blah. It's not even anything. It's not even like a word. It's just a sound.
So here's the thing about like language. I mean, I don't agree with it, but I mean, I understand the notion. So a language provides certain functions, and many of those functions are for bonding with peers, um, and excluding people that are not peers. Like that's one of the functions, which is the whole point of slang, right? The whole point of slang is to connect you with somebody while excluding somebody else. This is why when your mom starts using a term, it's no longer cool anymore, because that was the whole fucking point. It was your own fucking connection and language. And the language annoys people outside of the clique for that reason. You know, I can connect with someone from Baltimore by putting on a Baltimore accent, you know, and there's that connection. You can connect with people your own age by using similar slang, you know, and that you're on the in, and the whole point is for connection and exclusion, right? And
we got a couple of smart outlets in the stream chat. For the people going, are words not sounds? Words are just sounds that mean things. Yes, but at the end of the day, we're still speaking the same language. If some asshole is like, hey, bro, for real, poggers, bro. That is a word in the English language that is you can recognize. Blah, 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 is nothing in any language ever, unless maybe like some Star Wars language.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I understand that there's going to be a whole bunch of words that I don't understand or I don't think are useful, and you know, I think they're dumb, and it's supposed to be that way, right? It's supposed to be that I'm an old man being like the kids these days, you know. You know, and all of these things have functions, but some words and terms annoy me, and then and But of course, that's just the nature of it. I'm sure the words I used annoyed people. When I was young, it was like, first of all, the word suck was just coming about as a word. And it was considered very dirty for something to suck. Like, and so when little kids are like, that sucks, like to adults, it was like, oh my gosh, like my 7-year-old kid is saying that something is so bad it's filleting something. And you can imagine like how horrific that is. Like, oh my gosh, the whole world is coming to an end because that blows. Oh God, again, like everything is about everything filleting something else, right? And there was huge panic, and then it just went away. And now things sucking and blowing is fine. It's really weird, right? Rock and roll music, rock and roll music got that name because it was supposed to be the sound, the music you play when you're fucking. Like rocking and rolling is fucking, but now rock music is just rock music. Oh, it's fuck music. Yes, it's fuck music, right? Like, so
the guy who put the super chat, he said, Carmine, does Preston go on a tangent about his history of etymological deviancy in response to a question about unk status? Mean he's achieved unk status.
Sure.
And I'll say this to Dario, because Dario goes, Carmine, people aren't going to be growling like dogs. Dario, in 10 years, I'll put money on this. You want to bet? I'll put $100 on this. You want to bet? Come back to me in 110 years, and we'll see where it's at. We'll see. Yes, they will be. They'll be growling they'll be barking like dogs. Yes, sir.
I will say that things like certain trends don't make it. Things that are too difficult, that don't have much function, kind of go away. Things that are too confusing. Do you remember when like the word stupid was like considered an awesome word? Oh my God, that's so great. Oh my God, it was stupid. You're like, no, it was just too confusing. Like, why are you calling something stupid? Like and it went away. It lasted a very short period of time.
Some of the newer words make sense. Like saying something, oh dude, that's fire. Like that makes sense. Because like something that's like fire, it's like, whoa, like that makes sense. That like, but like again, in 10 years, I'm telling you now, Preston, in 10 years,
I will tell you a lot of the words that are going to disappear. You know how everyone uses the word cringe? It's going to go away in like 10 years. Like no one will use that anymore because it's just like, because it's too broad to be useful. Like, oh, that makes me feel embarrassed. Like, okay. Like it's just too, you can say it for everything. It's just like too general. I think woke will go away in 10 years and they'll use a different term. God, the idea will still be around. All these ideas will still be around. They'll just use something else, But eventually, like the word becomes a little too normalized and then it just goes. Like when I was young, awesome was huge. Everyone was using awesome instead of cool. And then it just went away. Like I thought awesome would be around forever. You could still say it, but like it's not the go-to word for something being cool. And for a while it became very uncool to say awesome. Like only the really nerdy kids were saying awesome still. Well, cool just kind of had a steady, we're going to be cool forever. I don't know what happened to the word cool. It just became so fucking universal. So I don't know. Whatevs. I'm still saying whatevs. What
did he say to me?
Oh, that went away. Remember when people would be like,
or was that one?
Yeah.
Flash in the pan. Carmine, I study linguistics. Phonology has its limits. I'll spare you your $100. Bro, 10 years. It's in 10 years. Come back to me. 10 years. 10 years, buddy. I'm telling you right now, the slang won't even be slang. It'll be fucking barbarian grunt noises.
I disagree with you, Carmine. I disagree with you, Carmine.
I'll put money on this. I'll put money.
No one's gonna. No.
Okay, because I'll remember this.
Here's the thing: is people are always going to want to express change and intelligence. There's always going to be somebody making fun of somebody else. Like, and there's always a back and forth and movement and rebellion against stuff, so you watch Game Grumps. Danny from Ninja Sex Party is in it. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen some episodes of Game Grumps, but it's been many, many years. There was a time where I was like, it hasn't been a while, but there was like a few years ago, there was a time where like I would watch a few like gaming streamers, like, but then I don't know that I just stopped. I don't know what happened, but I guess I liked some of the games they were playing. There was a time where I was specifically watching people play like Mario Maker, and I thought it was really fun. But then, and I think they were doing Mario Maker, but then I don't know if I got into watching any other video games people were playing. Has to be. Some people are very like, it's like Mario. It's like it's very you understand what's going on the screen, and you understand how difficult various things are to do. And I played those games. And so now if somebody's, say, playing Elden Ring, I don't know the moves. I don't know what's going on screen. So it's not as entertaining for me. So I don't know. Do you ever watch any streamers? Gaming streamers? Carmine?
No. I would rather play the game than watch someone play it.
Yeah. I mean, I understand the appeal and everything, like I get it. If you like the video game and think the person's like funny, it's like hanging, it's like, it simulates hanging with your friends. Favorite Christmas movie.
That's very sad, by the way, before you get onto that. It's kind of sad. This kind of simulates hanging out with your friends.
Right? Isn't
that
the
friends
whole
and play video games, but
yeah. Let's see. Favorite Christmas movie. I'm trying to think of some ones that I really do like. All right. I'm pulling up a list of ones I actually think are really good movies. Okay. I think Man, it's funny looking at this list of Christmas movies. Okay. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I do not like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I never, and my problem with it is it's never established why he should dislike his neighbors. You know what I'm talking about, Carmine? You've seen Christmas Vacation?
No, that's the one with Chevy Chase, right?
Mm-hmm. So Julia Louis-Dreyfus and her husband like live next door, and he just hates them for some reason. He just, for no reason, he thinks they're like snobs, and like the whole movie, like bad, like stuff keeps crashing into their house, and you're supposed to be like, yeah, but I just didn't get it. It wasn't and some people really love Christmas Vacation. I don't understand, because I really love National Lampoon's Vacation and I really love National Lampoon's European Vacation. I think those are two really fucking great movies, and I've always fucking hated Christmas Vacation. Here's some other one. Let me bring this up so I can.
Is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, is that a Christmas
I think that's a
one?
Thanksgiving movie. I think she's getting home for Thanksgiving. Elf, I think, is overrated. I know a lot of people that love Elf. I think once you look at the motivation, like the relationship and motivation between him and his father, it makes no sense. It's gibberish. Christmas Story, I seem to really like this movie. I think Christmas Story is pretty good. So there's a contender. Never seen White Christmas. Love Actually. Love Actually, I will say it's a very entertaining movie, and I definitely laughed the first time I saw it. But once you sort of analyze it and you're like, oh my God, like all of the relationships in it are so fucked up and weird. It's all right. Miracle on 34th Street. I've seen it, don't care. Scrooge, that's not a very good movie either. Wonderful Life, it's kind of boring. Never seen Dear Santa. Never seen Brewster's Millions Christmas. What? I don't know what that is. Spirit, no. What? I've seen The Night Before. That was horrible. Nightmare. Oh, Charlie Brown Christmas Special, where Linus comes in and has that religious speech. I've never seen Nightmare Before Christmas. I kind of liked Bad Santa. It's nothing great. Home Alone. Home Alone is pretty good. Four Christmas is not. I've seen that and it was bad. The Holiday I did not like. Jingle All the Way I did not like. Deck the Holiday. Just because there's so many bad ones. Die Hard's pretty good movie. Is it gonna be Die Hard or is it gonna be A Christmas Story? This is fucking Gremlins. I forgot that Gremlins was a Christmas movie. Gremlins is pretty good. Last Christmas I've seen Frosty the Snowman. And this is not saying that like I'm a super huge fan of Die Hard, because I'm not, but I think Die Hard's fine. But considering that like there's just not that many good Christmas movies, it if we're actually talking about like the theme of Christmas, I think I guess would be a Christmas Story. But man, there's not that many good Christmas movies. This is a real problem. There's not that many. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Carmine, do you have any favorite Christmas movies? What do you think? Is it Die Hard?
Grinch is always funny. Die Hard is great. Home Alone as a kid I loved.
Uh, some people really like Elf. But yeah, Linus's religious preaching kind of cringe, not gonna lie. Yeah, it is really weird. Man. Let me oh, it's almost midnight. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. And then Carmine, tell a story. You've been pretty quiet this stream. You owe us a good movie, a good movie story. And then
I don't have any good movie stories. Fuck.
It's not a Christmas story. Do you have a Christmas story?
No, I don't. Oh man. Yeah, you have been going on for too long. I will say, Preston likes to. I'll tell this story. Preston likes to break my balls all the time. Whenever we encounter a new YouTuber, I'll try to bring him to the fold. I'll include them in like a discussion on Discord or something on call. And the conversation always brings up. So Preston, Carmine, how'd you guys meet? The conversation always brought, and Preston, as always, trying to embarrass me, will say, "Oh, me and Carmine, we met at a gay orgy calzone tasting party." This fucking guy every fucking time, just to embarrass me. He'll do this every single time. Whenever we meet a new YouTuber to bring into the fold to collab with. So yeah, you can have that story every time without fail. What's your take on Syria? Hey man, I don't know anything. All I know is Preston leaves Dominican Republic, allegedly goes to the U.S. All of a sudden, Syria falls. I'm just saying, it's kind of fucking suspicious. I'm just saying. But no, Preston out here always embarrassing me, putting me on the spot whenever we meet someone new. Every time.
Christmas movie fanfic chapter. It'd be funny if I like Happy Day of the Seven. Fa la 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 la. Merry 7 days. Let's see here if I have. Oh. It's too bad I don't have my Syria photos on this computer, which is too bad. Right, yeah. Maternity photos, sky photos. No, there's nothing.
By the way,
What's up?
I will always laugh at how fucking crazy you are for your House of the Dragon season 1 episode 1 review, where you put a video of the placenta. You're fucking crazy. You put that on there. Did YouTube ever come down on you for that?
I think it did, and then I appealed it, and it passed. It was something like that. Yeah.
What? Oh my fucking god.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone in the back at YouTube is like, "Hey, boss, he appealed. What do we do?" Just give it to him. Just, you know what? Just give it to him. Fuck it.
Yeah. No, it was definitely it was silly. Yes. What a fun time. But then I kind of had to eat crow because I was like giving him a bunch of shit for not showing like a birth. And then they showed a fucking birth at the end, and I was like, damn, I'm sorry, House of the Dragon. I was giving you shit, and then you proved me wrong. So, good on them. Which is Song of Ice and Fire point of view would be best suited for a Christmas-themed story? Sansa? She's the one that would like it the most. But the thing is, if it were a Sansa story, right? She would like believe in Santa. This is the Sansa story. Like a Sansa Christmas, okay? It begins where Sansa like loves Christmas and like believes in Santa Claus and is like really into the like the whole spirit. And then she finds out that there's no Santa Claus because Santa Claus is actually tries to rape her. And then and then like a whole bunch of people are murdered, trying to deliver gifts. And then at the end of the story, they're like, Christmas isn't real. And that's the end. That would be the Santa Christmas. She discovers Santa is just Euron. Oh man. Like everything would go wrong. She believes in Santa Claus. She would. I mean, the whole idea is that she would believe in Santa Claus, and then Santa Claus would be somebody horrible. It'd be a nightmare. Joffrey comes. Elves live north of the wall. Is there any? There's no mention of elves, right? There's no elf in Ice and Fire. No elves or elves. That's too bad. That'd be funny. It'd be funny if they come.
It's weird you get dwarves without elves, right?
We get. I mean, we have dwarves. Like we have that joke, but because like he's the dwarf with the battle axe and everything. How did Carmine and I meet? Carmine and I met because way back in the day, some people.
You really want to tell this?
I know. I mean, he asked, but most people know it. But like,
really?
Way back in the day, like there were some people were angry at me for my theory videos because I used art off the internet that people had drawn, and people were angry that I hadn't given them credit. And so they copyright claimed my channel falsely, and my channel was taken down. And so Carmine was like, "What the fuck happened?" Like this other YouTuber, because at the time there was only half a dozen of us, And
That's
so we
being
called.
generous. There's like 4 people.
There was like
I'll
4
ship
of
back. I
us.
need to come on.
Yeah, it was like it was you and me and Tony Teflon.
Yeah.
and there was a woman named Danzy, and that was
good old days.
Yeah. And so you're right. There was like 4 of us. And so Carmine like calls me and he's like, "What the fuck happened?" Because mainly because he was worried it was going to happen to him. And we talked for a while on the whole thing, and I don't know. We just started talking from then, and then we started doing podcasts and stuff like that, and collabs. And then Carmine got pregnant, and we had the kid.
See, he does this all the time. He does
But yeah. Oh yeah, the children of the forest are basically elves. Yeah, you're right. Children of the forest are elves. The others are pretty elf coded. Yeah, kind of. Snarks and grumpkins. Yeah. That's all. That's all of the above, really. You're kind of right. What Dylan lyrics are most profound to you? I don't really know that much about Dylan. I mean, I think the times are a change and has pretty like impactful full lyrics. I don't know how profound they are. I don't know. I can't really answer this very well. I'm sure somebody that's in the chat would have better response than me. I'm sorry. The Ibonese have offerings of leaf and stone and water for the Equevron? What's Equevron? Oh, this is the World of Ice and Fire kind of thing. Woodwalkers, a vanished race who once inhabited a dense forest in Essos. The Equevron is the name in the Dothraki language, which means those who walk in the woods. Oh, I see. So they're essentially the children of the forest in Essos. Tony's still doing. Tony's still active. He might be the oldest. He's slightly older than we are, right?
I believe so, but I also think the oldest Ice and Fire channel is, believe it or not, Elio and Linda. Believe it or not.
Yeah, it's probably Elio, Linda, and if Comic Book Girl 19 still did stuff. Recently, Dragon Demands made a list, right?
Oh Jesus, this fucking thing.
You know what I'm talking about, though.
Yeah, ever the archivist, this fucking guy.
Yeah. So he did a list of everybody. He essentially said that like there's been a huge explosion in them recently, which is strange considering the show ended and then there's an explosion in Ice and Fire channels.
It's because what's been going down, homie, is I don't know if you haven't noticed this, but a lot of these guys are like younger, much younger.
Mm-hmm.
So,
gotcha. I mean,
and realistically, like I find it funny because every topic that could be discussed has already been discussed. Like there are no new theories. There's nothing. It's just the Ice and Fire fandom is weird. They kind of want to re-listen to the same old bullshit, but with a different voice. It's weird.
Yeah. I mean, well, when there's nothing else, when there's no books, but that's why I'm trying to do, that's why I do like the fanfic and stuff because it's like new and creative and stuff like that. You know, so Preston says we when Carmine is literally not Gen X. That's true. Of course, I'm only on the tail end of Gen X. Certainly growing up, like, I didn't think of myself as Gen X. And then later you're kind of like, yeah, fine, I'm Gen X. Whatever. But, you know. But yeah. So any last things you want to talk about, Carmine, before I'm off?
No, you still down to do a stream later in the week with me?
Sure. And I'll try to contact Trey about doing Berserk with the boys this week.
Oh, someone in your comments section for the Berserk video said that Guts is not based off Conan the Barbarian, which is ridiculous, but it's based off this character called Martin from the movie Flesh and Blood. You ever hear of this? Flesh and Blood from
Japanese?
1985? No. It's a movie from 1985 called Flesh and Blood.
Yeah. Now, no, okay. This is true. Is that he did say in one of his interviews that he became obsessed with Rutger Hauer and was watching Rutger Hauer movies, and that there's this random medieval Rutger Hauer movie
by Paul Verhoeven, the man who, in my opinion, was ruled the late 80s and most of the 90s with his films. Starship Troopers, RoboCop, Total Recall. I downloaded Flesh and Blood recently and I watched it. There is like, Miura is out of his mind. There is absolutely nothing that this movie has in common with anything Berserk or Guts. We could talk about that when we
right. I mean, I think it's funny because it's just like him with a funny looking sword. Like, those are the two similarities. He has a funny looking sword, but it's like funny.
So if you look on Wikipedia for Flesh and Blood, the helmet the guy in the background has is a helmet that Guts has used in the series, but
really?
The main character doesn't use the helmet.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The only thing the main character has in common with Guts is the large sword and the kind of edginess, but that's about it. There's nothing else. Guts has more in common with Conan the Barbarian and the series in general.
I mean, Guts. I mean, Guts has much more trauma and than Conan the Barbarian ever had. But maybe I'm also conflating things with like just the way Arnold Schwarzenegger plays him as kind of vacuous. But I know. I think isn't there something about him being haunted in Flesh and Blood?
Not him specifically. The main character you're talking about?
Yeah, let me think.
Kind of. We'll talk about it. I kind of want Trey to watch this because Flesh and Blood, man, it goes hard in terms of like medieval realism, because one of the things that like historians always bitch about when it comes to medieval shit is like the great sword, the long sword, and how in every like iteration of it, whether video games, shows, movies, the guys swinging it make it seem like it's heavy as fuck. It is not heavy as all to Martin, the main character Martin in this thing. Not only that though, but women have body hair, which is, you don't see that often. Like there's like women with like airy armpits in this. I'm like, oh, keep in mind
that when I was probably up until my mid-20s, it wasn't common for European women to shave their armpits. And then kind of like the Americanization kind of spread over, and they started doing it. But like, it was very like women just like girls in Europe just didn't shave their armpits. They had hairy armpits. Like that was it. That was just like, that was something I lived through. Like seeing European girls with like hairy armpits and being like, huh, that's really weird. Like that's really, really like, and then being like, oh, why is that weird? I don't know. But, and then a lot of them started shaving. So I don't know. But yeah,
there it is. There's your historical accuracy right there, based off the European trends at the time. But no, this film, fair warning to anybody who gets into it, it's a very like depressing film. There is no
yeah, I
hero to
think it
root
was
for.
probably like the darkness. Like it's very clear that the movie itself influenced him, like the dark, bleak aspect of that movie. And
Oh
it
yeah.
might be like one of the few medieval fantasy movies where you're like where it's that bleak, But
Hmm. You've seen Flesh
yeah,
and Blood, really?
I've now I'm remembering pieces of it. I don't think I've seen the whole thing beginning to end, but um,
Jennifer Jason Leigh is in it. She's the you probably remember her specifically from The Hateful Eight, where she's Daisy Domergue.
first of all, I remember Jennifer Jason Leigh from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. What are you talking about? Why
I
would I remember from Hateful? You're like naming something at the end of her fucking career versus fucking Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Oh my god!
I've never seen Fast Times, but she's in Flesh and Blood, and she's naked a lot. She's naked a lot, way too many. Jesus Christ.
First of all, well, she in Hateful Eight, she's naked old. She's naked young in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Fast Times at Ridgemont High is one of the fucking greatest movies of all time. It is
Oh
so
really?
fucking good. Oh my god. It invented Sean Penn single-handedly invented the stoner persona for
Hmm.
audiences. Like there'd be no Bill and Ted or Wayne and Garth or any of that fucking shit without like Sean Penn's performance. And Sean Penn, like the fucking douche he is, hates that fucking performance. Like he thinks it's
Oh,
horrible and he's so fucking good. Spicoli. Oh my god. He's so fucking good. And the guy who plays like Mr. Hand in the movie, oh my god, it's Fast Times at Ridgemont High is one of the funniest fucking movies I've ever fucking seen. Like it's so fucking good.
I have to check it
Um,
out.
oh my god, like first of all, the cast. Okay, Judge Reinhold, Phoebe Cates, Sean Penn, um, Forrest Whitaker. Oh my god, there's this Sean Penn. He, oh my god, what happens? Why does Sean Penn do it? He needs Sean Penn for some reason needs the football team to win no, I know what happens. I'm sorry. Sean Penn ends up crashing this football player's car, and he doesn't know, and he's just like, oh my god, the football player is gonna kill me. He's gonna fucking kill me. So he parks the car in the front of the school and then spray paints it with the rivals schools
That's clever.
so like mascot and stuff on it, and it is like Ridgemont High sucks, and he like runs off. And so the jock comes out and sees his car has been totaled, and in the football game he then just like murders all the fucking kids from the fucking rival school. It's so fucking good. There's so many fucking great things in it like that. Or like Sean Penn's performance is just so brilliant. So he's late for class all the time. And the teacher's like, Mr. Spicoli, you're wasting my time. Don't waste my time. You will be here on time. And so like the next time Spicoli comes in, this is Sean Penn, and he's like, Mr. Hand, I've been thinking, since I'm here and you're here, isn't it our time? Just, and he like brings a pizza because he keep being late because he's late for lunch, and he's like, you're right, it's our time and this is our pizza. And the teacher takes this like his pizza and gives it away to the rest of the students. It's fucking hilarious,
I'm
man.
downloading it now. I got you.
Oh my
Hopefully you're right.
god. You will also like as extras in the background are like um the original kid from fucking Eric Stoltz, and like the guy from ER and Revenge of the Nerds is just like his friend, but Spicoli, man. Oh my God. Oh man. Oh,
I'm downloading it now. I got you.
so fucking good. It yeah. It's also Fast Times is based on a book, which was based on Chris Columbus' experience. This is what's fucking crazy. Okay. Cameron Crowe. I'm sorry, Cameron Crowe. So you know Cameron Crowe, the guy who did Almost Famous, the director.
Sounds.
So Cameron Crowe, he wrote Say Anything. He wrote Singles. He wrote Jerry Maguire. He directed Almost Famous. Anyway, when Cameron Crowe was in his 20s, he looked really young. So he went undercover as a high school student in real life. He went undercover as a high school student, and then he wrote a book called Fast Times at Ridgemont High about the experience that he had being undercover in a high school. And then they made the movie based on the book, but the movie is so much fucking better. Like, they then changed it, but the movie is so much fucking better than the book. But like, it's just fucking, like, everything about it is so fucking crazy that like Cameron Crowe, like this movie based on his book, like starts the careers for this whole fucking generation of actors. It's fucking crazy, 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 crazy. Oh man.
I'm downloading it now. I'm getting it. But I'm just saying, for Berserk, Flesh and Blood, I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Berserk. Yeah. Okay. We'll send something to I'll send a message to Trey and try to. The only downside. My intro is on my other computer, so we might have no intro.
Preston, I will literally download that video, clip out that segment, and just give it to you.
You're right. I can do that too. That's. I can do that too. It's.
By the way, that fucking intro is genius. It's like it's fucking genius. I would have done something more akin to like the anime, because in the 1997 anime, it starts off with like, in this world, there's the destiny of mankind. I would have done something stupid like that, but no, Berserk with the boys, it being like a rock thing, like heavy metal.
Yeah. Well, my my goal is to try to make it as gay as Berserk.
Of course.
No intro. Scrap the whole thing. Oh my God. Got to contact High talking about Fast Times. It's just one of those movies you can watch over and over again, and it's I don't know. There's just so many funny scenes. Like Judge Reinhold, like when his girlfriend breaks up with him, and she's like, "Oh no, I'm sorry." Judge Reinhold has this horrible day where he gets like fired, and his girlfriend breaks up with him, and like, I think in school they're telling him he's doing bad in school or something, and the guidance counselor is like, you know, it's time for you to buckle down. Like the good times are over. And he just flips out. He flips the fuck out at the guidance counselor, and he stands up and he's like, good times are over. I'm fucking waiting for the good times to start, and storms out of the fucking office. It's so funny. The way he just has this fucking like, just anyway, enough. All right. Thank you everyone for being with me, and I'll see you guys next week. Carmine, thank you for staying with me as well. And we'll talk to you. Talk to you guys later.